And that's when I said, that's not a camel. That's my wife.
That's terrible.
So I wanted to show you guys something. Now, I know this will come out a couple weeks from now, so this will be old news, but it was announced today. If I could find it. Let's put this up on the screen.
Okay, let's not make that noise.
It's not going to work.
We're recording.
Oh, we are?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. What do you think is happening right now?
Did I get it? Where did it go? Hold on. I've lost it. Where the fuck?
You're fumbling the bag.
I'm fumbling it. Where did it go?
The bag. Like he's losing money? Yeah. Is that what that means? Because I know
I think so.
I think fumbling can be used for any.
I think it can
context,
be used for anything.
No, but the bag though.
The fumbling the bag I think might be money. Yeah.
I feel like that typically means like there was a girl and you fumbled the bag.
Oh, for a girl.
So you could use it for non like financial ways.
I guess so. But is it even a financial thing?
I think the bags, like go get your bag, is like go get your money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't working like I wanted it to,
That's
and now
okay,
I'm
that's
scared
okay.
and confused. So give me 2 seconds while I go into the settings.
Nice mug, Patrick.
Thanks,
Where'd you get it?
Okay. You gave it to me as a gift.
I did.
He gave it to me
Honestly,
as a gift.
I think I ordered it on Amazon, and I didn't think it would be.
Okay, so it wasn't a sentimental thing that you
No.
picked out with your own hand.
It was just a one-day shipping thing. No, but honestly, I didn't think. Oh yeah, Clark Kent, new Clark Kent, new.
I just wanted to say this
Lois
is old
Lane.
news, but Superman and Lois Lane have been cast for James Gunn's Superman Legacy.
Wow.
This
Honestly,
is old news, but
I like
Who's the dude?
I saw a picture of the guy without a beard, and he looks really good.
there's some photoshops of him already, like in the suit and everything, and he looks the part.
Who's the chick?
She is Ms. Maisel in The Marvelous Miss Maisel, which is
Oh,
a
the
show I've
comedy
never
show.
seen, but apparently it's fantastic, and she's really good in it. And him, I don't know from anywhere. He was apparently in some Netflix show, so I don't know him at all. I like that they've gone the sort of like not nobody, but like
Wow.
you know what I mean.
Oh
like
my.
I'm glad they picked these losers.
a little less known quantities for the kind of leading roles. I do want to just say really quickly, I feel really bad for Nicholas Hoult, who is Beast in the X-Men movies, but like the younger Beast.
Yes.
Fraser in X-Men 3.
Yes,
Because he was in the running for Batman in The Batman.
Oh wow.
And lost out to Robert Pattinson.
Thank God.
And there were rumors going around that he was in the running for Superman.
Damn.
And he lost out to this guy.
Not
so
too
he's
bad.
0 for 2. I mean, he got Beast in X-Men, which is like dope. But I'm just saying, in
but
terms of Batman
it's
and
different,
Superman.
though.
Exactly.
Two parts of a lifetime.
There's levels to it, right?
Exactly.
Sure.
And he he lost both of them. So, Nicholas, if you're listening, I just want to say,
Hang in there.
hang in there. And also, hey, I'm a fan. I like your shit.
Can I just say this man is really attractive?
He is. He's a good
I was
looking
gonna say
man.
he's a
Look at
cutie
that
patootie.
jawline.
You were gonna say that was the first thought that came
That's
to your
what- that's
mind?
the-
That's exactly what he was going to say.
That's
oh
the
my
first
God,
thing.
Okay.
It's quite the jawline.
I don't believe you.
Anyways, we can get off of that.
Sure.
Now that
Okay.
I've got this
Getting
open
hot in here, huh?
2 different tabs.
So were you gonna pull something else up, or are you trying to get the logo back up? Or?
I don't know. Hold on. Give me a second here.
Oh.
So that's a spoiler. Those are more spoilers. Yeah, it's gonna take some time to figure out. There
to
we
perfect
go.
to perfect
it.
the art.
But
of
anyways,
computing.
should we get into it? I'm excited.
I'm good to get into
We got
it.
things
I
to
think
talk
so.
about.
Let's do it.
Welcome to episode 16 of Wildly Adequate, the show about who gives a fuck. It's announcement time. I am 1/4 of your hosting crew, Mr. Matthew Urso, and we'll get to these other 3 bozos in a second. As you may have noticed, things are a little different if you're watching the YouTube video. Good news, we're on video now. That's right, we've got some cameras, we've got some lights, we've got a whole TV with the logo and everything here. Things have changed. We are also now on YouTube and we're always on YouTube. Idiot, I butchered it. We're now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So for those of you who don't want to see our hideous, hideous faces, you don't have to. You can
I don't like that.
go to that now.
I feel
don't
like
like
you
that.
should be talking about just yourself. Go on.
Just myself. Anyways, we are now on video, so, bear with us for the next few episodes while we figure out the kinks and shit. But for now, we hope you like this wonderful change that we've made and hope it makes the show infinitely better. Anyways, I am joined, as always.
Hey, I'm Patrick.
My name is Mark.
And I'm Malcolm.
I was going to say this is kind of like a face reveal, but we've been doing our photos on the social media clips. So
Sure.
everyone, I mean, people who engage with the social media know what we look like. But
Mhm.
for those who don't, face reveal.
Face reveal.
Hey.
Hey, kids. Who is starting us off today?
I feel like
gentlemen?
we established this
That's okay.
already.
I'm just asking for the audience.
Oh, okay.
I will be starting today, actually.
Let's go.
And today I want to talk about movies, specifically our favorite movie trilogies.
Can I just cut in here for just
Yeah,
one
go ahead.
second?
No.
Nope.
What I've been doing for the past, like, how many episodes are we in now? 16?
Yep.
16.
Is use my phone to keep notes on stuff that you guys like ask about.
Yeah.
Right.
It's gonna be okay for this one because I didn't mark down that many stuff, but I'm gonna have to
Just use pen and paper.
I'm gonna have to do a different method now.
You know, I was actually going to say the same thing. I use my phone to usually mark everything down, but today's the one specific day I decided I was going to do it in my mind.
Oh wow, there you go.
Well, as it turns out, fellas, I got this computer right in front of me. I
Lucky
can mark
boy.
some stuff down.
Oh, you're bragging now.
I've made a
Alright.
show document for
Hmm.
things, which I guess really only applies to me. But anyways, continue, Mark.
Yeah, so I was thinking about movie trilogies at some point. I don't remember when. I think it was a couple weeks ago. And then I started like researching some of the most popular movie trilogies. And then I was like, what is my favorite trilogy? Because to me, like, I'll throw out an honorable mention right away. And that's like the original Star Wars trilogy. But the problem for me is that it wasn't something that I grew up with. And it's not something I feel like deeply connected to. Like, I like it a lot. But I wanted to find one that's like really, yeah. So go
Why
ahead.
does it feel like you're blaspheming right now?
I'm blaspheming.
It kinda does.
Doesn't it feel like? I don't know. Anyways, go on.
Maybe. So my trilogy, I'm just going to go ahead right away. My trilogy is the Planet of the Apes trilogy. So I'm talking
Wow.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and then War for the Planet of the Apes.
I never even thought of that. That's a good one.
It's like my favorite trilogy ever.
Yeah.
The last two, excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather. The last two were directed by Matt Reeves, who notably did the Batman, the recent one. So Dawn and War were directed by him. Those two are my favorite for sure. And then Rise is really good too, and that was the one with James Franco. What I like about the trilogy too is that even though the first one was directed by a different person, it feels very connected and like seamless into the second and third. And yeah, it's just really intense and lots of cool action. And Andy Serkis is amazing as Caesar. And so yeah, I love that trilogy. My favorite.
Gentlemen.
Oh, all right.
Oh, why passing it to us? Why don't you want to?
Yeah, let's
'Cause
go
I wanted to see what you guys rattled off.
What if I wanted to see what you rattled?
Well,
off?
'cause
Oh.
I've kind of got a list here,
Oh, I see.
so I figured whichever.
I'm gonna throw out
Are
one
we,
more.
are we just doing one trilogy as our answer?
Yeah, one and then an honorable mention. But I'm
Okay.
gonna throw
So
out.
answer first.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw out one more honorable mention though, if that's fine.
Oh,
I'm
but
gonna break my own
you're
rule.
about to break your own.
I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Love Guardians of the Galaxy
I
I
trilogy.
didn't even think of the Guardians. What's wrong with me?
So I love that trilogy. To me, it's not like the best trilogy ever, but like
Okay.
they're really three solid, awesome movies. So I like that a lot too.
Well, for me, my honorable mention is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. I should have kept it to one.
And my trilogy is Star Wars.
The originals.
Excellent.
I have the
Interesting.
originals. I thought about everything,
Mm.
and just nothing beats it for me. I just love
Mm.
it. It's incredible.
We do have episode. Was that 6 there? No,
That's
Five.
episode
5.
5.
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire. Look at that.
I'm embarrassed with what I picked.
Number
now.
one.
What did you pick, Patrick?
I'm
So
excited.
I was looking through.
I'll start with the
different
honorable
trilogies.
mention too.
Oh, I thought we weren't doing that.
No, he just did it.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah. So an honorable mention for me was the Lord of the Rings.
Mm.
trilogy.
Very good.
I couldn't in my right mind pick it because it's been so long since I've engaged with those movies
Sure.
that I wouldn't be able to speak on them in any real sort of way.
By the way, when I was doing the
Yeah.
research for this topic, like that movie came up in like the best trilogies of all time, like in every single list. Like
Yeah.
there was no one list that excluded it.
Yeah.
And also, I was thinking about potentially picking a different trilogy because of the same reason that you said of like not having seen the movies in a long time. Because it's been a long time since I've seen any of the Planet of the Apes movies. But have I told you guys that story about when I was in high school and I was like tasked with picking a movie for the class?
Yes, you have. Didn't you pick 12 Years a Slave?
Yeah, so I picked 12 Years a Slave because I'd just seen it and I was in grade 10. And this is Miss class. Beep that out. But yeah, she was great, and she trusted me enough to pick a movie for the class and be like, "Oh, we're gonna make an assignment, like a writing assignment based on a movie that Mark's gonna pick." And so I picked 12 Years a Slave. It's an amazing movie, love it, and we actually watched it all together like last year, possibly.
Yeah.
Really emotional, really good, but I forgot how vulgar it was when I had picked it for the class because I had watched it like earlier that year and I just forgot, I guess. So we start watching it, and everyone's like, I don't know, like all like 15-year-olds or whatever, and then like there's like crazy nudity and like pretty intense violence and stuff, and I was like, I kind of felt bad because then she was like really like surprised because she didn't know what the movie was about. I think she knew that it was about slavery, but she didn't think it was like that intense.
Honestly, kind of a blunder on her part
Probably,
for not researching.
Yeah,
it.
like
but then
checking it out.
also probably like a pretty lousy of me not to think.
Well,
of,
yeah, you're definitely a dirtbag too.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So anyway, I had to change the movie, and I ended up changing it to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. So I feel like that might have been the last time I saw it. That was years ago. But I just remember loving it so much. And War came out a couple of years after that, and I remember watching it in theaters and it being like incredible. So anyway.
Wait. So was the question, what is the best movie trilogy?
Your favorite?
Or my favorite. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, I'm kind of embarrassed with my answer, but I still I really love this trilogy. And again, I threw out Lord of the Rings as an honorable mention. I'm going to throw out Star Wars as an honorable mention as well.
Oh, like the prequels or the originals?
The originals. No way the prequels are.
Okay.
As much as I love Episode 3, there's no way the prequels are anywhere
three's
near.
your favorite, right?
Yeah. But Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh.
Interesting.
They only made 3?
I don't
They-
think
no,
that-
they
I don't
didn't
think
only
that's
make-
embarrassing at all.
They didn't only make 3, but like the trilogy with
Johnny Depp?
well, Johnny Depp is in Beyond
Oh.
3, but with specifically Orlando Bloom's like
Like his arc or
characters as
whatever?
well. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So those 3 are my pick.
Interesting.
Don't
Very
look at me. Don't
nostalgic.
look at me. Like
So much
that.
judgment.
I think that's a bit of a wild card. I didn't
Honestly,
expect it.
I think that's a good pick.
It's,
I didn't even think of Pirates of the Caribbean, but I
Yeah.
love Pirates of the Caribbean.
It's amazing. I love it. Anyways, Matthew. Now that
Um,
you saw our picks,
I have a whole because I kind of wrote down a list here because I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't have like one.
that's a good
answer.
asterisk because I feel like my answer could change on a given day.
Yeah,
but
and it's
anyways.
one of those things where my answer could change any day of the week. Like Star Wars, the original trilogy is a good one. I have a bunch here which we can get to, but I'll just pick like what I'm gonna go with.
I don't want
and
to
then-
make a habit of cutting in here, and I'm sorry for doing this, but
Mhm.
it's funny that you just singled out Malcolm's pick as being a good one, and then just Mark and I's are just.
What?
What are
I'm
you
saying
talking
Star
about?
Wars would be on mine too. I don't.
Oh, okay.
And
I just felt like you were trying to
the
belittle.
Planet of the Apes
okay.
trilogy was one I had on here too. I've never
Oh.
seen the Pirates of the Caribbean, any of them.
Me
So
neither.
I couldn't.
No, wait,
Didn't
wait,
we
wait.
all watch them together?
And any
you guys
of them.
watch them together. I have not
I-
seen a
I-
single
Any-
one.
Patrick,
I
you
have
wanna
not
go?
seen a single one.
Am I
No, you're good. You're good.
Am I
Really?
I want you to kiss that mic, baby.
It's not really muffled.
Well,
Really?
yeah, the louder you get, the more it'll
Sure.
get blown out.
But
Audio.
what I was gonna say is, I think we watched it on Netflix Party at some
I
point
thought we did.
during COVID.
Yeah.
I was not there.
I remember not particularly liking the first one just because I was like really tired and I think I fell asleep near the last third of it.
Mm.
But I just don't remember like same thing with the Indiana Jones. I know you love Indiana Jones, Matty, and I think that's on a lot of trilogy lists and stuff. But I just couldn't get into it. I know it's beloved, and I just couldn't do it.
Guess what? It's my answer.
Oh wow,
What?
Indiana Jones.
I was going to
Indiana
go Indiana Jones.
Jones,
It's something that
wow.
could change any day of the week, but I'm going to go Indiana Jones, the first 3 ones. I think the first one is like just such a masterpiece, and I'm also, a big Spielberg mark.
Big Egypt guy.
And big Egypt guy. The second one, Temple of Doom, I find gets dunked on a lot, and I think it's the weakest of the 3. I mean, if you add Crystal Skull, then that's the weakest. But of the core 3, I think Temple of Doom is like the weakest one. But even that, I still find a lot of enjoyment in.
Is the
and
Last
then-
Crusade part of the trilogy?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
Last Crusade being the third one with Mr. Sean Connery. I think that film is also like not as good as the first, but pretty goddamn close. And it's just like a Raiders and Last Crusade are 2 movies that I struggle to find things wrong with them, if that makes any sense. I'm not saying they're like perfect movies, but they're the kinds of movies, they're like a Forrest Gump to me, where I'm like,
Just lovable.
there's nothing in this where I'm like, oh, that could have been fixed. Oh, that could have been tightened up. Oh, that was maybe a weird like line delivery or an editing choice, or like, the sound guy fucked up. Like, I just find those 2 movies like as pretty close to like perfect as you can get, kind of thing.
I hate to spoil the surprise here, but I noticed you wrote Austin Powers in your list, and that's actually was also on my phone list. That clearly I forgot.
I've
'cause I didn't have it.
never seen any of them.
Yeah.
I've seen
Oh, you gotta
multiple
watch
clips now, and
Yeah.
each time I'm like laughing my ass off. Same thing with like a lot of the Naked Gun stuff. I think we've seen the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Like,
first
we all
one.
watched that one together.
Love
Hilarious. It's so good. But
Love
I've seen clips from the second and like all that stuff, and I want to watch all of them.
Yeah.
And same with Austin
I
Powers.
have-
Austin Powers, I felt like I wanted to choose because of how hilarious it is, but I haven't watched all of the movies in the trilogy, so I feel like I couldn't,
Okay.
Austin
2
Powers,
comments.
I have written down on here as one of the like, potential options. But yeah, I'm gonna go Indiana Jones for mine. If I had to toss one of these out as an honorable mention, although they all are, and we can get to them in a second, I'm going to pick Back to the Future as an honorable mention because I know that's up there for a lot of people of being like
I didn't even know it was a trilogy.
the best trilogy.
Me neither. I thought it was just 2.
You didn't know.
It's
it's a
1,
trilogy,
2,
yeah.
and 3.
By the way-
3. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say 3. I think is considered the weakest. Like I think most people would rank them like 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Like 1 being the best, 2's good, and 3's also like it's still fantastic, but it's just like probably the weakest of the 3. But it's just a really like tight, well done trilogy, and the way they all kind of like. Well, it's been a while since I've seen the 3rd, but specifically the first 2, how they kind of like sort of weave into each other and all that stuff, and it's just a lot of fun. Obviously, Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd are fantastic.
Yeah, so what I was going to say, by the way, is I'm surprised no one said the Dark Knight trilogy.
That's another honorable mention I have.
I can't believe that.
the
I
Dark Knight
figured
trilogy.
Patrick might.
I thought about it, but it didn't even become an honorable mention. So that's,
Really?
Wow. Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah,
can
that's
rattle
true.
off some of these other ones.
It's
I've
really
got
good
here.
though, but I don't know, man.
These were 4 other ones that I just wrote down as what I was maybe gonna pick because again, it could change any day of the week. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy.
Yeah, I had that as an honorable mention. See, I
Because-
need my notes with me, bro.
Spider-Man 1 is like. It has like first movie syndrome where it's like they don't really know what they're doing yet and they're still kind of figuring it out. Kind of in a lot of ways, I don't know, with like A New Hope, for example, where it's like Spider-Man 1 and A New Hope, still great. But then you get to the middle child of
They
those families.
leveled up.
And you get Spider-Man 2 and Empire Strikes Back, which are just like so much better than the first like movies and just immaculate sequels.
Patrick's copying my hand holding.
Patrick's doing some hand holding.
I'm joining Malcolm. and
Spider-Man 3 obviously has tons of issues and is like the weakest of the 3, but as time goes on, I enjoy Spider-Man 3 because A, it's very nostalgic for me because that was the only one of those 3 movies I actually saw in the theater because it would have been like 2007 or 8.
Yeah, we were like actually kids.
So I was like old enough to go see that in a theater. So that's always been like, so it has a nostalgic factor for me too. And now as like an older person, just all the memes.
What's happening right now?
What?
You and Mark make fun of me for liking Spider-Man 3.
I think.
Wait,
Hold on a
what?
second. Hold on a second.
I
Hold
think-
on a second. I make fun of you for like legitimately liking it. I enjoy it through a nostalgic lens and from like a laughing at it kind of lens, which is not what they intended to do with the movie.
I enjoy it from a nostalgic lens.
I like it
Okay, well, there you
from.
go.
I think I remember it being my favorite as a kid.
Like, this is
I
the second
haven't seen
episode
it.
in a row. Last week, you
Yeah.
said you really like Spider-Man 3. Now you're saying you like it.
No, wait.
And I'm befuddled because
here's
for
my-
like years, you guys would make fun of me for
But here's
it.
my thing. It's
Yeah.
like, to me, Spider-Man 3 is, I can watch it and enjoy it, but I feel like there are some parts that are like, I don't know, a little bit goofy, and I remember them
Yes.
being kind of like, I don't know, over the, like kind of silly.
Like
But
him dancing in the black suit.
sure, yeah. But then also, like, again, it was my favorite as a kid. I feel like part of it was probably because I also watched it in theaters, and it was just like, I don't know. I remember watching it every day and like showing it to my grandparents and like,
Yes,
If they-
we talked about this last
yeah.
week.
Oh, we did. Okay. Yeah. So I like it, but to me, it's like, I think I was making fun of you at some point because you said it was your favorite of
And
the
I
three.
remember, I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but Green Lantern as well was one I was making.
Oh my! Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
that's
That
one.
just-
That's one I
horrible,
will. Yeah, that's inexcusable. You're right.
What I was gonna say like 20 minutes ago is
Oh wow. Okay.
Indiana Jones, new one. So I got a solid for like 4 out of 10 on
Yeah,
IGN.
at the
Oh.
time of recording,
Yeah.
the Dial of Destiny is not out yet. I do not hear good things, but I mean, I'm gonna go see it anyway. My attitude is like, I don't know, as long as it's like better than Crystal Skull, I'll take it. But although Crystal Skull's kind of like Spider-Man 3 for me, where I'm like, this is not a good movie, but I don't mind like sitting and watching it every once in a while.
Sure.
Um,
Same. I feel the same way about the prequels. Like I don't hate them, and I don't think they're like complete. I mean, like some of them are kind of
the
boring.
prequels,
and like,
yeah, for me, it's just Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones are just like boring in a
Phantom
lot
Menace
of
is-
ways.
Phantom Menace
That
is
I'm just like,
dreadful.
I just don't want to like. Whereas like Spider-Man 3 and Crystal Skull, those movies are like dumb and not great, but they're like goofy and entertaining
Sure.
enough that I'm like, I'll sit and watch this.
but to me,
Like,
there's like elements of Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones that like carry me through the movie.
Sure.
Like, I'm able to
Yeah.
get through it without being like, this is unbearable.
Like,
I didn't watch those movies and I was like, oh, I can't do this. You
For
know?
me, Phantom Menace is a little more unbearable, and Attack of the Clones is kind of cool in my opinion. So I don't mind watching it.
they both have, they have moments. What was I gonna say? There was one thing I wanted to say. I forgot. It doesn't matter.
Fumbled the bag.
The Godfather trilogy is
Hmm.
another one that
Still
I see.
haven't watched the
talked
second
of.
one.
You've
now.
watched all 3. You've seen all 3, and you haven't
The
seen one Pirates of the
third,
Caribbean
I don't
movie.
know.
Don't believe it.
I don't know if I've
Got
ever
him.
actually seen the third one like completely. I think I've seen bits and pieces of it, but 1
You-
and 2 I've seen.
You
for
sat
sure.
through almost 10 hours of Godfather and not 1 hour, 2 hours of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes.
That's insane. Okay.
So I'm, the Godfather's up there. We have to watch the second one. Because you guys haven't seen it yet because it's
it on
also
the wheel?
fantastic. Not yet, but it certainly will.
I feel
be.
like
I'm gonna throw out one more thing,
Please.
and I'll invite you guys to jump in as well. I'm gonna list a trilogy that I want to watch and that
Mm.
I've never
Oh,
seen. I've
okay.
never seen any of them.
Yeah.
So there's one called the Before trilogy. So the Before trilogy is
Yes.
I think it's before sunrise, after sunset, before sun. I don't know.
They're all. I think it's before sunset, sunrise, and midnight, or
something like that. So it's basically like it's Ethan Hawke, who I love as an actor, and he's like, it's like a romantic kind of trilogy of like him meeting this girl on vacation and them falling in love and then having to go back home and like trying to keep in touch and stuff. I've heard it's really, really good. And the entire trilogy is like the same couple in like different parts of their lives, and like the newest one is like them when they're adults and like reconnecting again from when they were like, you know, they're reminiscing about when they were in their 20s and then they met in Venice or whatever.
That's romantic.
Yeah, so I've heard it's really, really solid, and also Malcolm's yawning. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
For me,
So-
yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I was gonna say, and purely, I don't know anything about this trilogy.
Sure.
Just I've heard it's good. The Jason Bourne trilogy.
Oh, okay.
I've seen the first Bourne movie,
Yeah.
and I haven't seen the other two. Well, technically, there's I think 5.
Oh, at this point, there's 5.
Because
Okay.
they did the 3 with Matt Damon. They did that one like sort of spin-off one with Jeremy Renner, and then they did another one with Matt Damon. But like the core 3, like the original ones, I've only seen the first one. It's forever ago, but I remember like really liking it. That was like 3 movies I wanted to put on our wheel at some point.
That's encouraging.
Of like getting through, because I remember the first one being like really good, and 2 and 3 I might have seen like 5 minutes here or there on like TV over the years, but like I want to sit through like in a more modern, you know, adult kind of way, and like just go through them all and see how those stack up. Speaking of spy stuff, Captain America was another trilogy I wrote down.
Really good.
Because I think the first Avenger is like, it's not my well, I don't know. It's
decent.
It's one of the better Phase 1 movies, but you know they were still kind of finding their way. Winter Soldier is like
Epic.
so very good and just works not even as like a superhero thing, but just as like a thriller spy whatever movie. Like it's so good. And then Civil War to me is like just like everything I want.
But would you say that Guardians is a better trilogy than?
Now that
I
Guardians
was.
3 is out, I think yes. I personally
It's pretty close though for you.
I probably like Civil War on its own more than any of the 3 Guardians movies. But if you
Come on now.
but if you put the 2 trilogies like
Head to head.
head to head, all 3 of the Guardians movies
They're better
are
movies.
better than the first Captain America and Winter
Sure.
Soldier to me.
Well, to me, also it's like I could see your argument of like also like the fan service of Civil War and how fun it is, and like
That's the thing to me of Civil
the
War. The
entertainment
fact that
level.
they pulled off A, that storyline, B, like the airport thing, which like I noticed some people just banging action figures together, but it's just I always
It was
like
fun.
seeing the heroes fight each other.
Sure.
To me, the perfect introduction of Spider-Man, and like I know people have some issues with Tom Holland's Spider-Man like later as they've gone on with things. Even I like wasn't crazy about Far From Home. Although I love Homecoming, but like what we got of him in Civil War, just like the 10 minutes he was on screen was just everything like I had ever wanted out of a live action Spider-Man at the time. So it's like there's so much in that movie.
By the way, this is all kind of off topic, but are they making a trilogy for the new Batman?
I
heard
think
they
that's
were.
the plan. I mean, they're doing a part 2,
Dude,
so I
if-
imagine they're going to do a third.
If the second and third are anywhere near the first one, that would be my new favorite trilogy.
It'd be the best
Right.
trilogy, right?
Yeah.
It would have to be.
Love
It would have to be up there.
Also, Matt Reeves. Also,
Matt
yeah,
Reeves.
like the first Planet of the Apes, by the way, is directed by this guy named Rupert Wyatt, which I've never seen any of his other movies.
Rupert?
Rupert Wyatt,
That's
yeah.
the name of a teddy bear.
It is.
Family Guy, yeah. It's like, yeah, but Matt Reeves directed 2 and 3, and now he's like slowly becoming one of my favorite directors. Like, I didn't realize he directed my 2 favorite Planet of the Apes movies
Mm-hmm.
when I watched
Fake
the
fan.
Batman, and I was like, yeah,
Fake fan.
he's awesome.
Hmm?
Fake fan.
The last 2 I'll toss out there, and then if you're satisfied, Mark, we can segue.
Yeah, my
out of
nose is
here.
almost starting to run, so let's
We'll
cut this. Let's
cut
cut
this
this.
Do you have
out of
more
tissue.
tissues? Or
I threw them all out.
Oh,
We
you
should've
didn't save
grabbed
any.
more tissues.
No, I'm really about it. I'm wasting.
Not prudent whatsoever. Huh?
No.
I was just going to toss out Evil Dead, which we bless you
Oh,
just
yeah.
went and saw Evil Dead Rise, but the bless you again. But the
Like
first
in the direction. If I didn't pick up my cup, that
There'd
would
be
have been
snot.
all
Sorry.
over my cup.
yeah.
Sorry.
The first 3 Evil Dead movies, though, 1 and 2 are like classic horror and a lot of fun. 3, I'm not like as crazy about.
How
Army
many
of
are there?
Darkness.
20.
Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness.
Exactly 20.
The remake, and then Rise, so 5.
I was pretty close.
Number 5 was kind of.
How dare you? Rise was dope.
To me, it was like it wasn't a great movie, but it was like fun.
Oh, I love
It was
it.
a movie. You'd have to,
scary.
it was a movie you'd have to pay me to go see again.
Nah, I don't know
I,
about
Wow.
I
It
loved
was-
Rise.
it was
so
not
much.
bad.
You'd have to pay me to watch it by myself, but to like go with friends, I'd easily do
As
it.
like a horror dork, I loved Rise, and I liked an interview. I hope they give this director, I forget his name, who did Rise, this opportunity, because he was doing some interview talking where he's like, yeah, if Rise does well enough, and like if they want to do more, he's like, if they give me the chance to do like an Evil Dead Rise 2, just the idea he had tossed out of like I would start at like 15 minutes after the first one ends.
Wow.
Of it would be, I forget the character's name, but the main character and the little girl she's with, and because the scene he had in his head was, it would be like the two of them walking into a police station covered in blood, and her just putting the chainsaw down on like the desk at the police station. I'm like, give me that now. And then Terminator 1, fantastic. Terminator 2, just
Even better.
the GOAT, top shit. I love it. Terminator 3 is fine.
I didn't even know they made a Terminator.
Like it's the
3.
weakest of them.
Never seen a
And
single
we don't
one.
talk about the other ones after that. We don't get into that. But anyways, trilogies.
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 Trilogy.
We
Jeez.
love movies. Look at the movie posters everywhere.
Look at the
Halloween.
movie posters.
I think there was like a Halloween. I don't think it's a trilogy though. It's a series.
There's
lot
like
of
a
them.
million Halloween
Yeah.
movies. You could kind of group it. Well, not even really, because the first two, the third Halloween movie isn't really a Halloween movie. And now there's the modern trilogy, because they did the 2018 one, which was
Jamie Lee
dope.
Curtis. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, where they brought her back. And then the second one was like lame. And I haven't even bothered to see the third one yet, because I hear it's also lame.
Also, future topic alert. I wanted to do movie posters, like favorite movie posters at some
Oh,
point.
I'd love to do that.
And I remember when I was researching it, that poster in specific was like in all the lists as like one of the most legendary
Oh, yeah.
posters.
The Halloween one.
Yeah.
I like the Halloween one too, just quickly looking at it. I mean, there's all the little nice
Caption's
details,
cool.
but just like the caption and like his fist being like one of the things of the pumpkin
Oh
holding the
yeah.
Oh, I
knife.
didn't even realize.
Like is such
That's
a
cool.
cool.
Do you guys
little
mind if I
detail.
jump in here real quick?
Please.
I feel moist. My hands are really moist.
So do I.
That's
My
it.
legs are moist.
Okay.
It's hot in here. It's getting hot.
Take
I
off all
think.
your clothes.
Oh. I didn't even realize the solution was that simple.
There you go.
Perfect.
We'll maybe crack a window after this, because I'm getting a little hot under the
Yeah.
collar here.
My nose is running
My
here, but,
balls are soup right now.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, sweaty testicles.
Can I take a sip?
You're belaboring her.
That's it.
I can't think of a good transition, so you can go ahead, Patrick.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, so for this next topic, it's going to be a little bit more of a serious one. I feel like in saying that, I'm going to induce laughter, but you guys will pick up the vibe.
Sure.
So we're going to talk about sexual offenders today.
this guy starts pissing himself immediately. Before the show, Patrick was telling me about his topic, and he's like, I kind of think I want to get into like sexual offenders today. I was like, oh wow, that's like really heavy. He's like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to get through it, because like it's a more serious thing, and I don't want to like laugh and like be all funny. I was like, all right, like I think maybe we'll see what happens. And this guy like saying the name.
I just thinking of me saying like we need this to be serious.
Yeah.
Like, anyways, what I want to do is just talk about the different like types of sexual offenders.
Mhm.
Why?
I have a select few.
Why do you want to talk
Interesting.
about it? Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah. So what I'll do, just so you guys know like how the conversation will go.
Can we just?
We'll
this,
do-
this video game is playing in the back.
There we go. I didn't know.
Oh.
I didn't realize. There we
Mario
All right.
Kart.
Sorry, go ahead.
Let's get back on track here. So I'll go in order of the ones I want to bring up. I'm bringing up a select few, and we'll do it where you guys like tell me what you guys know about each category, and
And
then
what we
can
think
get
of
into.
them.
Okay, just we're gonna stick with the objective for today. Okay?
Sure.
Okay, so without further ado, let's get into it. So
Wait.
voyeurs are my first.
I just
one.
want to
Yeah.
ask a question. Are we going to be able to talk about like a little bit like that we know on the topic and what
Yeah.
we've seen about it, or are we just?
That's
gonna-
what we'll do first
Yeah,
with
alright,
each one. Okay,
alright.
voyeurs. Do you guys know what voyeurs are?
I've never heard
No.
I
that term
believe
before.
so.
Okay, for anyone who has a guess, what's a voyeur?
Isn't it like people who like to watch other people naked or like having sex and stuff?
Isn't that a cuck?
Okay.
But like not their partner, like just other people.
Okay,
Mm.
Malcolm, do you have a guess on it?
Well, I have no.
You never heard of
My-
I
voyeur
have no
before?
educated guess, so I'm not going to take a guess.
Okay,
I'll
sure.
take a guess without being educated.
Go for it.
Voyeur sounds like voyager, so I kind of just imagine someone who travels from place to place doing naughty
I was-
things.
I was gonna say
Interesting. Okay.
that, and I was gonna feel stupid if I was really wrong, so I didn't say it.
I don't feel stupid.
Okay.
I think it's pretty funny.
All right. I understand how your mind went there,
Sure.
but Matthew, you're correct. Just the definition in front of me. Oh my goodness! I didn't realize you cared that much. So a voyeur is someone who gains sexual arousal from secretly spying on others as they disrobe or engage in sexual behaviors.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's,
Okay.
Yeah.
In what way? Like in the room kind of way, or like far away on top of a building with binoculars looking in the
just
window kind of
as
thing?
long like it's however you define spying. Like
I
the
just-
person doesn't know they're there. It
Like
could be
man,
different
man,
levels.
man in the closet type deal.
Could be something like that, and it's just categorized by overwhelming fantasies, thoughts, and urges, and it gets to a point like if you're a voyeur, it gets to a point where it interferes with your daily functioning. There's actually this is a serial killer, but on the lines of interfering with your daily functioning, there's a serial killer named Jerry Brudos, and his urges to kill people got so high at one point he just left eggs on the stove, walked out, and they burned, and he just went and did his thing kind of thing. So it's like an extreme level is what
Sure.
I'm trying to
Mhm.
convey here. I do actually have the profile of a voyeur if you guys are interested in hearing that. Do you guys have any guesses on
A
what?
local voyeur?
Do you guys know what a profile is?
No.
Sort of behavioral and demographic characteristics that
No.
most voyeurs line up with.
Let's hear it.
Okay.
Mm.
So they're almost always male. They have obviously increased psychological problems like mood disorders, anxiety, substance use disorders. They have issues with drug and alcohol. They tend to have issues with drug and alcohol, heightened levels of sexual arousability, and high level of masturbation and pornography use. So anything I bring up here is sort of the accepted facts in forensic psychology. We'll call it up to date with the new year. That's what we'll call it. Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
So good from the new year. Okay. And lastly, just so you guys know, voyeurs have an 8% prevalence rate, which
That's
I don't know
pretty
if that's not.
What
Yeah,
does
that's
that
high.
That's very high.
How's the
That-
prevalence rate?
Amongst the population.
Exactly. How much it
8% of
occurs
people.
in the population.
Wow,
Well,
that's
that
a-
sounds
8%
Eight
of the
percent is high.
8% of the world
imagine-
of the world population.
No.
America?
I think it's North America.
I imagine as we
We're
get
talking
to
either USA or
worse
North
and
America.
worse
That's kinda crazy.
offenders, the percentages
Yes.
will hopefully get lower.
Dude.
But
Yes.
voyeurism being that high makes sense because it's the least, not to downplay it, but it's like the least harmful. If
I'm
that
just- I'm
makes
just
any
thinking-
In a
sense.
It's the
sense.
most doable.
Okay.
Sure. Also, yes.
Oh,
it
What does
is.
that mean? Yeah. What I was thinking is that even just America, there's 300. Is it 300 million people in America?
They're like
Yeah.
340, pushing 350 maybe.
Yeah, so
million.
we're talking 10 million people. No, yeah, we're talking 10
Yeah.
10% about, right?
just about.
Yeah, so we're talking that's a shit ton of people.
It is.
Wait, so it's just people who like to watch other people
People like to watch other people. Yeah.
and they have that urge,
Yeah, it's like a
Wanna-
fantasy. They have fantasies about doing it. They have urges to want to do it.
but they're not involved in it at all.
They're not involved in it.
And that's what I'm saying, where it's like,
However-
again, it's not to downplay it. It's still gross and a crime, but it's just like in terms of it, the number being that high makes sense to me purely because it's like, it's the least invasive and it's also like
The
not,
most doable.
Yeah.
again, to Malcolm's point, it is the
Okay.
most doable.
Wait, is
I
it?
don't know why you're trying.
But is it just like a way of thinking, or is it them actually acting on it that makes them a voyeur? You know what I'm saying?
That's a pretty good question.
I think it would
wouldn't
be,
be able
I think
to.
it'd be acting on it.
Well,
like someone-
in the
someone-
definition
someone-
it says fantasies, so it's categorized by fantasies.
Because someone who's like a pedophile could just be
Yeah.
someone who thinks about that sort of thing,
Yeah.
but they're not acting on it, but they're still a pedophile.
Put it this way.
Right.
It's only people who've been caught who have been
Oh, I
put in
see.
that category.
get
So like
8%
we
for
don't
the people
know
who've
how
been
many
caught.
people
Right.
fantasize about it.
Mm.
You know what I
So
mean?
it's probably
Like
higher than
15.
8.
Yeah. And also, just before we move on to this next one, it's kind of a little concerning. About 20% of voyeurs become contact offenders.
Well, that's so much for
Yikes.
everything I just said.
What did you say?
said
When
like
I was
the-
just saying, like, the number being that high doesn't surprise me because it's like it's the least. Like it's the least harmful to the people affected because you're not like physically.
Malcolm's just like waiting to say it's the most doable. I guess.
Yeah. It's like
Bro.
it's the most like you're not like physically interacting
Yeah.
with
It's
the
realistic.
people, which is why it makes
Just
sense
whenever
to me.
he's struggling with how to say it, I just want to say most doable.
Most doable. But then
Okay.
you immediately go
You need to collect yourself.
you immediately then saying that 20% of them then turn into contact things kind of
Yeah.
flies in the
I
face
guess.
of
I guess
that.
so. Yeah. Okay. Next
Carry
up,
on.
exhibitionists.
I know
No
what this
idea.
is.
No idea?
Exhibitionist.
Not a clue.
Saw a lot of this the other day.
Oh wow.
All right, can I
You're
take
right.
an
I mean,
uneducated guess?
you can take an uneducated guess, sure.
All right. Little girls or boys are being sexually trafficked, and pedophiles go to an exhibition where they can.
No, I'm
choose and
cutting.
see.
No, it's not. Okay,
Okay.
go on, Mark.
I don't have a guess.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
People who like to be naked in public.
Exactly. So the
Oh,
definition of exhibitionism, becoming sexually aroused upon exposing one's genitals to a stranger. So this includes flashing, mooning, streaking, and the most common is masturbating in public. I actually. What is funny?
What
is funny?
I'm thinking about a video of a guy on a subway just.
Oh yeah.
That-
I've seen that one.
Oh, I think I know the video you're talking about.
People did different like Photoshop versions where he's like look how good he is at violin, and they edit like
No
they Photoshop
way.
they Photoshop a violin over what he's doing physically, so he's just like straight faced and he's actually doing it. He's doing what we know he's doing, but
Okay.
he's like playing the violin in the video.
My God. Okay. I'm gonna move on now.
Sure.
Okay.
Please.
So I also have a profile here. Do you guys have any guesses based on the last profile I said on like the demographic or behavioral characteristics of a exhibitionist?
Like most of these, I'm gonna assume most of them are male.
Yeah,
That because like the public masturbation thing to me screams
male.
a guy.
okay.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
say they watch a lot of porn.
Yes.
Let's throw another guess here. I'm gonna say that they have psychological problems.
What'd you say with that inflection?
I don't know.
So the profile, as I understand it for exhibitionists,
We just guessed the same profile as the other one. It's just all the same.
but they're pretty similar.
Okay.
So the profile for exhibitionists are almost always male, increased psychological problems, specifically difficulty fitting in and making relationships. They have low life satisfaction, increased drug and alcohol use problems, and high level of masturbation and pornography use. Also high sexual arousability. So
I keep looking at Malcolm and laughing. I don't know why.
you should stop looking at Malcolm. Then. Anyways, they have a 5.5% prevalence rate.
Honestly, that's pretty high too.
That's also
That is-
really high.
The public but does it have to include public masturbation? That's the point of it, right?
No,
Or they could just be-
it
it could just
be
can,
nude.
but it could also be streaking, mooning, or flashing.
Oh, okay. Because I feel like a lot of like college kids probably like party and go out and be stupid. And, like
Yeah, I mean, if they get arrested for it, then maybe
Okay,
they're in the percentage
Sure.
of it. And exhibitionism has one of the highest rates of reoffending among sexual offenders. So
that's no good.
that's not good at all.
No.
It's really. You'd think they'd learn their lesson from the. But I mean, I guess it's like fantasy. Like you have an urge to do it.
I feel like if you have the courage to do that, and I'm not saying courage in a positive way, but if you just have the balls to do that,
Yeah.
then I feel like, and that's not a pun. That's no pun intended, by the
Yeah.
way, on that.
Well,
But if you have if you have that ability to do that, I feel like you're pretty out there. And
uninhibited.
you're willing to do more
Yeah.
things like that.
Well, my professor shared an anecdote with us. He said that he was talking to an expert in the field, and he theorized, I guess you could say, that the reason why they like keep doing it over and over again is because they want to find someone else who's into that as well.
Oh, interesting.
Like they want to like do it and then have someone do it back to
Oh.
them, and then
That's what they're hoping for.
that's what they're hoping for. But this is an anecdote from
It's a
You know-
long shot.
You know, very long shot. But I've
Yeah.
imagined when people do that sort of thing, I feel like I always think to myself, do they not feel like upset that they're making someone freaked out? You know what I'm saying? Like the reaction of the person that you're doing that to. I feel like
I have a weird feeling they like that.
They like the
like
panic?
They see like a 40-year-old woman just like scream in terror as they're
They-
like,
they want
taking
that.
out their.
Okay, let's stop speculating now.
no, I'm just saying. Like
Yeah.
I figured that because you're saying like they do it to your professor had a theory that they do it to find other people like that.
Yeah.
I just wonder what about it to them is appealing. You know what I'm saying? Like, is it the reaction? Is it, I don't know.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep speculating, just one more time.
Okay, go ahead.
It is a pretty big long shot. Imagine a man just getting nude in public,
Sure.
and he's in the back of his mind. He's like, somebody today is gonna do it back to me, and then we're gonna fall in love.
You didn't. That was the theory.
Yeah.
You didn't speculate there. You just
No.
reset the theory. Oh, okay.
I read you said the
I'm
theory.
confused.
I'm gonna throw out one more thing.
Go for it.
I feel like most of these people, and I'm just imagining this, like, it is a long shot as well because they probably don't look like people that you would want to, be involved with. You know
Mark
what I'm
calling
saying?
them all ugly.
Kinda. I'm just saying I wouldn't imagine like a Brad Pitt looking guy doing that. You
Mm.
know what I'm saying?
Mm.
That's why I don't
Tomorrow headlines Brad Pitt exhibitionist.
Exhibitionist, yeah.
Anyways,
Please go on.
May I move on? Okay, so next.
Actually, do I want you to go on? I guess so. It is.
I
your turn.
I mean,
you're gonna go on anyway.
I mean, I'm going on anyways. A frotteur. I don't even know if I said
French.
that. Frotteur.
I got nothing on this
A
one.
fr-
Never heard of it.
A French exhibitionist.
Okay. So a frotteur is someone who gets sexually aroused from touching or rubbing against a non-consenting individual.
Oh,
So-
wow.
So a straight
Like-
up criminal.
Like for example, this is the sexual offenders topic, Matthew. These
I'm
are all
aware,
criminal.
but it's just
They're all
like,
criminals.
yes, this is true, but it's just like now we're like into the.
Maddie's being
We're into the context.
Maddie's like
More
Maddie's
of-
like the first two are okay.
Yeah.
But this one is
Like, I feel like that's
No.
sort of what's being implied here.
No.
Oh my goodness.
I already said earlier the voyeurs were definitely
yeah,
criminals.
the first two are weird, but they're not criminal.
Oh my god.
No.
But yeah, so along the lines of like being in a crowded subway, like that's sort of a place where they would thrive, or a concert probably,
Sure.
like anywhere where like
No.
a
Oh,
clu-
oh,
a club,
crowded places.
crowded. Exactly. I'm just trying to touch on crowded places. But the numbers on, as I understand it from what my professor was telling us, the numbers on frotteurs are like shady because it's like again
Yeah.
like in a subway,
How do you
like if
report
it
that?
happens to you, you're probably like confused
Sure.
and just like
Is this
maybe
person
you wanna
actually
move
doing
on.
that?
Like yeah, like what was the intention here? Was it like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's just one of those things where it's a little bit like up in the air. Let's move on to internet lurers.
I mean,
Would this-
It's,
that
it's in
sounds
the name.
Would,
Sure.
would this include like Chris Hansen kind of stuff?
It would, yeah.
Yeah.
It would include Chris Hansen and stuff. So internet lurers make contact with children or adolescents online and groom them. So build a relationship of trust.
He literally uses that word.
Chris Hansen? Yeah.
Grooms them.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's up with the forensic psychology lingo. And they do this to engage in sexual activity, whether it's live or cyber.
Dude, by the way, I remember
yeah.
one of those Chris Hansen episodes where the kind of like actor who was pretending to be the kid talking to the guy online is like show up naked or whatever, and the guy does it. He shows up like not wearing any. I think he's just in his underwear or whatever.
Okay.
But he shows up like that, and I'm like, damn, that guy's like, he's got some mental problems for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He goes, I wasn't gonna do anything.
And they go like one guy was like eating pizza. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
He was eating pizza, and then when he got caught, he's like, can I keep eating while you talk to me? Like that's how deranged he is. He's like he doesn't have any sort of idea of how messed up he is.
Those-
Yeah, the situation he's in.
There was
Yeah.
one really freaky one I watched where they were doing it a little bit differently, where they would have the 13-year-old girl be with her dad when the guy came, and they would pretend to go along with the story, as in like, yeah, we're both gonna get with my 13-year-old daughter.
Oh God, damn.
And like some 73-year-old guy came over talking about how beautiful and how good care he's taken of her, and how he's done it before, and it's not gonna hurt at all. And we're gonna take real good care of you.
goodness.
It was it was hard to watch. It
That
was really hard to watch.
That sounds really difficult to watch. With regards to internet lures, though, do you guys want to throw some guesses out for the profile?
Man.
Male.
You guys just
man.
got that one down.
It's always
pat.
dudes.
It's always dudes.
I'm gonna
Any
guess.
other guesses?
I'm gonna guess a lot of them are older. Actually, I don't know if that's gonna be. I don't know if age is a component of it, but I imagine
It could
like
be,
older
but
men.
I don't have age as a component in this
Okay.
profile. Actually, I do have age as a component. I'm sorry, but not like a range. You think older?
I just imagine like
Okay.
I just kind of think back to those shows, and it's always like a middle-aged guy or like an older man.
Yeah.
I feel like when a lot of people have that sort of like problem in their brain,
Mm-hmm.
and then once they're kind of like older, maybe they're retired or something, and they just have free time, and they're just like they act on their, compulsions or whatever.
Yeah.
I would say it's around like the 40s in my head.
You think
I feel like
40s?
40s.
Okay. So the profile for internet lures, they are mostly white males. So we have a race demographic there. Younger.
Really?
I don't know what the range, how they
Oh.
define younger though. They say they're younger.
So young adults, basically.
Yeah, less abuse in they had less abuse in childhood, but oh my god, this doesn't make any sense. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, boys.
What is it?
I have in front of me less abuse in childhood, as in they were
I think
really
you're
abused
maybe you're talking about in comparison to the other offenders. They're not. They have
Potentially.
less abuse.
potentially,
in-
and they tend to have higher victim empathy. So
Oh.
they like feel like if you press them on like what they're doing. They understand what they're doing is like
All right,
hurting.
I'm sorry.
Honestly,
Yeah.
that,
Other
like,
people.
you can kind of see that in the Chris Hansen videos. Like,
Yeah.
even when Chris Hansen doesn't show up, they like some of the guys would be like, we don't have to do it if you don't want to do it. But then when Chris Hansen shows up, they're 100% like, I wasn't gonna do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hear that.
And Chris Hansen's like, I have a picture of your privates here, and the guy goes, really?
No,
I
you
didn't
Just
know
tries
it.
to play it off.
Yeah,
That wasn't me.
sometimes they're like, sometimes they break down and they're like, oh, like please don't arrest me. Like I did, I made a mistake. Whatever. I'm never gonna do this again. And some of them just like deny, just like nothing. They give them
I
nothing.
remember one of them was like, oh, I have so many photos on my phone. I must have accidentally clicked
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
those ones when I sent the
Yeah.
other ones. And he's like, so why did only the nude ones come up?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was the lot. So I feel like it's like completely dismissed.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're done here. Yeah. So that was sort of. I kind of like switched on the fly here. There's a few more I was gonna bring up, but I think this is sufficient
For sex offenders?
for sex offenders currently.
God, I hope so.
I kind of regret not saying like disclaimer, guys. We're gonna
I
be
was gonna.
talking
So
about-
I have two
yeah.
things to say,
Yeah.
just really quickly. One is a little more lighthearted, and then one to, let's say, like, buy you some goodwill.
Okay.
The lighthearted thing. I've never had this problem, but I don't know what the hell I'm gonna like title this topic in the YouTube title.
you can write
And I don't know what I'm
Naughty.
gonna write in the
Just say,
description.
just
You
say
can write-
naughty people.
you can write typologies of sex offenders. Typologies.
Yeah, either you send me that or I come up with something
But
else.
the
Okay.
problem is like I don't know if YouTube's gonna flag that as something that shouldn't be. I mean, I guess
We'll
shouldn't
see
be.
what
And
happens.
Chris Hansen's all on there, so I mean.
That's true.
This is true. So you've given me quite the challenge here.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, what's the reason you bring all this up? Where does this come from? You're in psychology stuff. Yes, you're interested in all this.
Yes.
I wanted you to provide a bit of an explanation as to why
Also,
you were delving into this, and your disclaimer that you were also going to say about, hey, this is a little more
Yeah.
but before
of
you
a heavy thing.
before you answer that, I wasn't sure if this was supposed to be like a conversational thing, so I
Mhm.
apologize if I was like interrupting.
No.
too much.
I want like I
'Cause I
wanted you guys
thought-
to jump in.
Because at
yeah.
first I was like, I think you might be like giving us like a kind of like a talk about what you've learned about it,
Mm.
but like I felt bad that if
No,
maybe if
like
was
I
jumping in.
tried to make it where like I opened the floor. Okay, what do you guys think this
Okay.
is? Or
Fair, that's true.
and if you guys had stuff to like hop in with, of course.
Yeah, cool.
And then just to answer Matthew's question, I feel like the best thing I can say is simply that like I find all this stuff interesting, and I like the technicalities of like knowing like people like categorize this stuff, and I
Mm.
thought maybe you guys would be interested in like
It is really
hearing like the
And you're in a
profiles.
class.
I was in a
You
class.
were in a class
Yes.
that talked about this kind
like
of
abnormal
stuff.
abnormal psychology.
No, this is forensic psychology.
Forensic
There we
psychology.
go, ladies
This
and
is
gentlemen.
where like forensic psychology is the study of how human behavior interacts with the law.
Mm.
So it's like mainly
Interesting.
concerned with. I have stuff here on like different types of murders. I have stuff here on.
Dude,
different
I
types
love that stuff. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
I love shows about that. I love like true crime shows and
Mhm.
like even something like Mindhunter is one of my favorite shows ever.
Yeah.
On a kind of also lighthearted note, I was watching this thing where I think it was like Tom Segura. He was talking about this like how he loves true crime shows and how he's like they said it's a bad sign if you like relax to true crime shows.
Mm.
And he was like laughing for a second, like that makes him more calm than anything in his life is
Yeah.
watching like a true crime show.
To your topic though, Patrick, it's definitely interesting. It's just also like gross.
It's definitely gross.
Like, I
and-
feel like talking about the shit makes me want to take a shower, and not just because
Yeah.
I'm drenched in sweat right now. Like just actually talking
Mm.
about it. Like it's just there's like a
no, it's
there's
definitely
an
uncomfy.
ickiness to it. You
It's
know?
definitely uncomfy. And anytime we had any lecture, the professor would be like, again,
If,
we're gonna get into like some
yeah.
graphic stuff.
Sure.
And like, I have notes here on like stories and stuff that, he said that maybe not like is not appropriate
Sure.
for the
Could
camera.
save those.
But I like the kind of like approaching it from like an objective like studying their minds type
Ye-
thing,
Sure.
and like categorizing stuff, and
Yeah,
it's
like
kind of
what's
cool.
been similar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting and like very fascinating to hear that even the big percentages and stuff. I didn't even know that.
They're like with voyeurs and exhibitionists, crazy,
Yeah.
crazy huge percentages
Yeah,
with like disease and stuff, like prevalence of disease. For example, fetal alcohol syndrome is like at most, if I recall correctly, 4% of first graders, or roughly 4 to 5% of first graders in America.
okay,
And that's like a high one.
yeah,
Like you have, and even if we're gonna stick to like psychological disorders, like schizophrenia and mood disorders, they're hovering around like 1%, 2% maybe.
What about depression? I feel like that would be way high.
And major depressive disorder, I cannot recall. I want to say it's it's definitely below 5%.
Really?
I believe so.
So, like,
but
less than
honestly,
less than
let's not
5%.
take my word for it
Sure,
right
sure,
now. I
sure.
don't know why I'm speculating, but
Patrick is claiming.
but what I'm trying to say is, yeah, the 8% and the 5.5%, those are
Significant.
wacky numbers
Yeah.
for sure. At the very least, I hope you guys thought our talk on sexual offenders was somewhat interesting, but let us move on from that to Malcolm.
I would like to talk about horror movies.
Oh,
okay.
And what made me choose this topic over the other things I was thinking is I was hearing a lot of hereditary things today, like on my TikTok and Instagram for
Okay.
some reason. And it was just making me think about how freaky and disturbing it was the first time I watched
Yeah.
it, and how like my mind was just blown in terrible
No,
ways.
Oh.
I think you and I watched it.
I think we
for-
all watched it together.
No. It was me and you at like 2 a.m,
you're
and
right.
it was just me and you, and we had watched it for the first time because I remember texting you after and being like, "What the fuck was that?" and like being like, "That was incredible. Like that was really like it was really well done." But we were just like, yeah,
I
like
think
freaking out over it.
One of the things from that movie that really gets to me is when the mom is silently up above his bed
Yeah,
and she's like struggling, and everywhere he goes she's kind of following, and she's like struggling midair and floating all at the same time, and it's so freaky.
It's fucked up.
I'm
shit.
kind of getting shivers right now.
to me, and before you continue on with the topic, to me, like a part of that movie that terrifies me too is like not even necessarily like the paranormal stuff, but like her shriek and her screaming, like and crying when she finds out that her daughter's dead. Like he comes home, like the son comes home, and it was kind of his fault because he was like, he like took her to a party, and then the whole allergic reaction thing happened. But he comes home and he like is so shocked he doesn't know what to do. He just kind of falls asleep, or just like
Mhm.
lays in bed basically. And then it kind of like shows like a time lapse of like nighttime till morning. And then you just see like the mom getting ready or whatever, and she just walks into the room. You don't even see anything. You just hear the screams. Like the screaming is so disturbing. It's like it's not even like like anything crazy bloody or a weird visual, but it's just like so disturbing to hear that.
I don't even know what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Between, oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go
Are
ahead.
you gonna go on? Or
Honestly, there's
Mace?
nowhere specific I want to go with this topic. I just
Okay.
want to hear about horror movies, everyone's opinions, your favorites,
Well, what I was gonna say was
specific
between.
moments.
What I was gonna say was between Midsummer and
Yeah,
Hereditary. What are you guys thinking is the more
yeah.
scary of the two?
I think that
Should we like give a breakdown for those who don't know, or
I would say, we kind of just spoiled a bunch of Hereditary, so I won't spoil either
It's
of them.
been a while.
Because, they're like, they've been around a while, but I won't spoil either of them, but they're both very good. I'm personally a Midsummer fan.
oh, so
Over
we're not
Hereditary.
gonna give a little thing on each.
The basic thing with Hereditary is it's sort of this family that's like kind of being
possessed.
like haunted by some like spiritual
Demon.
Yeah,
demonic shit, and then
Demon.
Midsummer is like these young people that go to this like remote Swedish kind of
Community. Yeah.
and some
Commune.
shit starts going down there. Commune, there we go.
Sure.
That's the
Commune.
word.
but to answer your question about which one I prefer,
And sorry,
we
just
prefer-
before.
sure.
Sorry, my bad.
It's okay.
And Midsummer is not supernatural.
no,
It is
right?
not.
It's just like them with the Swedish commune.
Yes.
And
Yes,
just
which
shit
is
goes down.
why I like it more.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I digress.
And it's also why some people might argue it's scarier because it's like
Yes.
it's like something that feels more real. Like people
Mhm.
could be that messed up and could do that sort of
People
crazy
have
stuff.
been
and
that
have been
messed up,
historically,
yeah.
yeah. So it's like, but for me, I think that Hereditary is, I don't know. I just feel like it's a better movie. I like it better as a movie. I think it's like, I don't know. To me, it's more impactful. I don't know why. I just feel like maybe it's like the tone of it too. It's like very dark, very like Midsummer is more like it's colorful, it's light. There's a lot of weird psychological stuff going on, like weird visuals and stuff.
Hmm.
But I personally was more scared watching Hereditary. I thought it was more disturbing. I thought it was more like, horrifying.
Yeah. Here's the thing. As a person who grew up in a religious household,
Oh yeah.
it's like there's God and then there's like the devil.
Yeah.
Okay. And just the idea, again, I think I've mentioned this to you guys before, but just seeing those real people worshiping
Yeah.
the devil
Yeah.
and like just carrying out, well, it wasn't the devil, but
Like
some
rituals.
some
and-
some
yeah.
demon. It's just and the fact is there's people out there, I don't know
Yeah.
the prevalence, we
The
learned that word
Satanists.
today.
Yeah.
I don't know the prevalence, but there are people who Satanists. Wait, which branch of Satanism are you talking about?
I'm just saying like Satanists.
I don't know,
generally.
yeah.
Devil worshippers.
Oh, okay. Well, there's Satanism that believes in like the self being like paramount, and like your desires is paramount.
I
It's
was
not
talking
about,
more about like
the
devil.
actual. Okay, yeah. So I'm conflicted because that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what Matty said with Midsommar being real
Realistic,
people
yeah.
and it being a thing where people have been that screwed up, people can be that screwed up, and you could find yourself. Now the likelihood
Unlikely,
is-
but you could.
Yeah, you could
The
find yourself.
thing is that you could, but you're not likely going to find yourself in a demon possession.
in a
type
demon
thing.
possession.
Yeah.
But to me, it's like the distinction I make between those two movies as well is like Midsommar is like I'd say disturbing, but like Hereditary is like scarier to me. Like one's like more, one's more like maybe bloody and kind of like I don't know, gory, sure, and like, but the other one to me is like the mood is scarier and the like the actual environment and yeah, it's just like to me it's just a scarier, darker movie, and then the other one's more like violent and like gruesome type.
It's so hard to say. Like when I think about the things that are happening in Midsommar, it scares the hell out of me. But like Patrick said, thinking about there actually being people out there that worship the devil like they do, like it's just
backwards.
So much
it's
more.
like so backwards. It's like if if it's the case, it's almost like they're acknowledging, like yes, this is the devil and he is like the embodiment of evil, and they're choosing to go there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
it's a
that's
very
what's
like disturbing.
it's disturbing, and
thought
it's
process.
why it's
Yeah.
there's people there are people who believe that humans are inherently good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Those people I don't think I agree with, but where was I going with this?
I don't-
Well, to me, what I was gonna say about what you were saying is like
Yeah.
one of the scariest things about watching Hereditary is like the gathering of the people. Like I remember when he's
Yeah.
like going up to the treehouse and
There's
they're all
people
waiting
everywhere.
and they're all like naked
Yep.
for some reason and they're all like in rows and they're very organized and they're very like it seems like they're passionate about what they're doing. Like they're like
exactly.
they want this so bad. And they're like hoping for the demon to be like resurrected and all that stuff.
Yes.
It's like all the fact that for some reason the gathering to me that they're all so organized is so scary. It's
Well,
like they're
if you're into Beelzebub, you got to be pretty committed.
You have to be passionate about that.
Um,
But I think what it is, I think I figured it out in words. It's people. I think what's freaky to me is that people go through life trying to find meaning
sure.
and trying to find what they believe is right, and
Mhm.
to like know that there are people who end up there, and that's like
Yeah.
their meaning, that's their drive, that's in the end like this is what they've decided is the path.
Yeah.
It's just so backwards to me.
Yeah.
It's
icky.
And
Yeah.
and speaking to the prevalence part, like I feel like the prevalence is probably extremely low because
Yeah.
I almost feel like if I hear someone saying something like that, I almost think like, oh, they're just doing it for attention. Like they want to be like opposite of what the traditional, maybe like they hate religion or their parents were religious and they kind of want to just like go against all of that, and they're not necessarily like deeply agreeing with like the evil aspect
just
of things.
rebellious-
It's just rebellion.
rebellious
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
yeah.
So to me, it's like I feel like a lot of cases it is that, and then like in the cases of people who actually are committed to it and like are not just rebelling,
It's like
I
some fucked
feel
up
I
shit
feel like it's
happened
just
to
like
them, had to be.
psychological trauma and like that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I am such a gigantic horror movie fan. I
Mm.
love horror movies. I am a fan of all kinds of different horror movies. Cheesy slashers, your Halloweens, your
Mm.
Friday the 13th.
Those are fun with friends. Huh?
More like avant-garde, like legit movie shit, like Midsummer and Hereditary. We'll get to The Shining.
Yep.
Other ones that are like not as like kind of artsy fartsy as those movies, but are still like pound for pound quality movies. Your Aliens, your The Thing.
The Thing.
Like those. I'm such a horror dork.
To be quite honest, sorry, cut you off there.
It's okay.
You know what? Finish. I'm sorry. I should stop.
No,
that.
I was basically just the point of
Yeah.
like I'm gonna start getting into a bunch of different movies, but just like I'm such a one day probably around Halloween time, tune in for that shit.
What?
I want to do a topic that's like the horror genre,
Yeah.
like not just movies, but sort of like broaden it to everything.
Like where it is now versus
Um,
what it used to be.
Yeah, and like get into games and books
Mm.
and like comics and like
like
just
that.
like all kinds of horror stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm just a fan of the genre, but we'll get to that one day. But
Yeah.
just movie wise, there's so much. I think my favorite horror movie is probably The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider, by the way, because I know it's one of your favorite movies ever, would you consider Jaws a horror movie?
Jaws is my favorite movie ever. Some people go back and forth on it. I think it is by definition probably a horror movie, but
it doesn't feel like it to me.
to me, I think the first like 2/3 of it are a horror movie. As soon as it's the three of them on the boat for like the last like
a thriller
45 minutes
action
of the movie,
kinda.
like chasing the shark.
Sure.
At that point, it's more of honestly like an
Action.
adventure
Yeah.
kind of movie. So to me, it's kind of like it's like it's kind of the way I think about a game like BioShock, the first one, where like BioShock, the first one to me is like not maybe technically a survival horror game, but like it's pretty goddamn close.
Feels
Like
like
it
it.
kind of toes the line. And I think Jaws is a similar way.
If I could jump in here,
Please.
what I was gonna say was when you were rattling off those movies, I feel like the Thing, The Shining, Alien, like those
Oh, dude.
movies,
Love them.
and anything like those movies. I'm having a hard time thinking of other ones that are like them. I think those are like top tier horror movies.
Yes.
Better than like the jump scare things.
Yeah,
Or
better than
Yes.
like the Insidious.
just the over the top stuff. Simply because I feel like they're more intelligent.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's my point where it's like those are like, again, I like schlocky horror movies, like even like Evil
Sure.
Dead Rise, which we mentioned. I legitimately love that movie.
But it's
I
not-
think it's awesome. It's
Yeah.
it's to me it's like playing Doom. It's so much fun. It's awesome. It's so entertaining. It's scary as shit.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily like
High quality, like top tier stuff.
I think it's got quality and it's like a good movie, but it's not necessarily like, some all-time great thing. Whereas I think like The Shining, Alien, The Thing, like to me those are movies that are horror movies and also legitimately
Good movies.
great
Yeah.
start to finish films.
I think part of what it is being able to make it scary but not rely on those jump scares. They make
Yeah.
it scary without having anything extravagant happen.
Well, also-
but you're on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, and it's like they use, I think to me, the idea that like horror things, like when people talk about with horror where they're like, oh, things are too reliant on jump scares. It's like, yeah, but it doesn't mean you don't have to not use them at all.
Sure.
Like Alien has one of my favorite moments when Dallas is going around the vents and they're
Oh,
like
yeah,
watching
dude.
him on the little tracking thing.
Yep.
And then they see the second thing start coming on the tracking thing. And they're like, it's right, like, and the dots are right on top of each other. It's like, it's in there with you somewhere. And it's like, because the first Alien is a guy in a suit, in the xenomorph suit, it's a little goofy, but it still is like such a great
That's scary.
shot to me of like him sitting there with the air
flamethrower?
ducts, with the flamethrower being the only source of light, and him looking down the one path, looking down the second path, and then he turns behind him and it just jumps out at him.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a jump scare, but it's like, it's not reliant on that. It's just,
Exactly.
that's there
Yeah.
for that like moment kind of thing. But it's like, the chest burster isn't a jump scare, but it's like, it's just this like
That-
2-minute scene of
that,
terror
That scene made me jump.
of like,
Yeah, that's
it's
scary.
like they're sitting at the dinner table, like Kane starts coughing and it's
Yeah,
like, what
yeah.
the fuck's up with Kane?
Dude, I
Kinda.
remember-
And then him rolling down, it's like, what the
Yeah.
fuck is going on? And when it finally happens, it's like,
Dude, I remember I watched it with my girl as well, and she was like freaking the fuck out when that happened. Like when it starts, like she was like, "What's going on?" Like, and he starts
Yeah.
like they lay him down, and then like you see something kind of protruding a little bit, and she's
Mhm.
like, "Oh my god, what the fuck is that?"
Yeah.
yes.
And like it just pops out,
It's
there's blood
nauseating.
shooting all over everybody.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, by the way, like to add on to what you're saying about it them being like top quality movies,
Mhm.
I feel like a part of it is like interesting characters that you actually care about.
Yes.
Like
Mhm.
all of the characters in Alien, like you're invested in them and you want to
Yes.
know more about them, and they're like decently fleshed out
and
and,
it's
stuff.
like Ripley is one of the all-time
Yeah.
like horror movie kind of, and I know like
Protagonists?
I know horror's like filled with like like the scream queens and like the final girls they call them, especially in a lot of the slashers. But it's like Ripley legitimately is like one of the best like film characters. Like she's so good, and Sigourney Weaver is so perfect in specifically Alien and Aliens as just like just as Ripley is just this like she's not. It's kind of the Dead Space thing like we talked about a couple episodes ago where
Last
it's like
episode.
was it last episode?
no,
Oh,
two
might have been
episodes
right.
ago.
My
Yeah.
bad.
But like what's cool about Ripley is that she's not like an ass kicker. Like she's just this lady on a ship, which is like similar to Dead Space, where it's like the guy who
Hold
plays in
on.
Dead Space is just an engineer. Like he's not
It feels more human.
a soldier. Like it's not like Predator where they're all these like muscle bound like badasses. And I mean the fun of that movie is stripping that away of like look how tough and badass these guys are, and then making them feel like little boys. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of the fun of that movie. Shout out Predator. But yeah, like it's just interesting characters like you guys are saying, and it's just when you get to Mac in The Thing, and it's like how fun and entertaining he is to watch because he is more of the like roguish, like kind of a dick. Like, you know, there's so much personality in it. The first scene of the movie when he's playing chess against the computer and it beats him, and he just like pulls out the hard drive and just dumps his whiskey and ice into the thing. It's like, you cheating bitch. Like immediately it's like, yeah, this is a cool guy. Like this is a dude's dude.
Also, I like
This
what
is
I
a dude's dude. Yeah, go on.
what I like about those kind of movies too is that like it doesn't feel like they are committing themselves to being like we are. It's not like the main goal is to just be scary. It's to tell like an interesting story as well,
Sure.
and also be scary.
Yes.
So that's why I like a movie like The Shining.
Yes,
It's not just like, it doesn't feel like, when I think back on it, I don't think like, oh, like super scary moment. I just think of like a really good movie and a really, really amazing acting performances and some scary moments, of course, because like obviously that's like the point. Like it's a horror movie for sure, but like I like that it's not so one dimensional. Like those types of movies are not one dimensional. They're like very
That's
good
right.
in many
That's a good
different
way
ways.
of putting it,
Yeah.
The thing, like I was saying, is my favorite. I think the more as time goes on, and this reminds me, there's a video I gotta sit you down and show you guys someday. It's like this 10-minute video from this YouTuber I really like. Shout out Captain Christian, who talks about the music in The Shining. But I think the more as time goes on, that The Shining is probably like
It's
the greatest
it's up there.
horror movie. Like it's not my favorite. I like The Thing more, but I think The Shining, it's like Hereditary and Midsummer in the sense that it's a little more like kind of artsy fartsy and whatever, but it's like there's so much to pick out of it, and it's like it's one of those like movies that's like talked about so much because there's so much shit to pull from it, and like things I watch, like there's things I watch on it still now that like I didn't notice or that like interest me about it. Like one of the things that always, what I like about The Shining, and I've mentioned this before on the show about how like I think one of the things with horror is that the best horror has like a great setting. Alien's got the Nostromo. The Thing has, you know, the Arctic and being like totally fucked in the middle of nowhere. And The Shining's got the
hotel.
Overlook Hotel, where it's like there are so many things in the hotel that don't make any sense, which like adds to the weirdness of it. Because early in the movie when Jack is talking to the two people who like own the building or whatever, and they're like interviewing him about applying, like somebody in some video I watched had pointed out where it's like the room he goes, like, because he comes I think through the front door and then like goes right and then right again, but it's like the room he's in with the window in the room like doesn't make any sense logistically
Like
in like
terms of,
how
like,
the building's
sure,
laid out.
sure.
Like it straight up physically is impossible and does not make any
for
sense
it to be there. Yeah.
for
Oh my
like that
God.
room to be there.
Chills.
Kind of thing. But it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just like, there's so much little shit like that and like interpretation. And obviously it's like a million iconic things like the twins, the blood elevator, which even in Evil Dead Rise, they have like that
yeah.
total Shining nod where the elevator crashes
You know what's cool
and all
too?
the blood flies
When
out.
he's in the interview, and like I've seen posts about this like a million times, but like his tie that he's wearing in the interview is like a green kind of like mesh looking tie, and it looks exactly like the kind of like maze at the end with the green like the grass maze.
Yeah.
Like it's like if you zoom in on it, it like looks like the maze on
And
it.
it's just
Yeah.
it's one of those movies, and I mean obviously it's Kubrick, so you expect this, but it's one of those things that it just like it's a movie that demands excellence, and it's just, you know, like there's a lot of movies where it's like Alien, for example, is one where I think about like set design and like production quality, where you think about
looks
the
so
Nostromo, and when people like when Ridley Scott and some of these guys making the movie talk about how it's like, yeah, we designed like all the buttons on all the things, and like how above the doors there's like always like those little red square symbols and whatever. It's like, yeah, all those mean different things, like they signify different things of the ships, like the amount of thought that goes into it. But it's like in a lot of movies you don't think about those things, but then you watch The Shining, it's like the carpet in the Overlook Hotel
Oh yeah,
is iconic.
like the red,
Like
and,
when
the
you
red and
see
orange
that kind of like red orange pattern on things, I'm like, oh, it's The Shining carpet. It's like I'm not fucking thinking about carpet patterns in like a million other movies, but in The Shining, it's like this thing that's like,
I mean, not
there.
to mention that iconic moment of like here's Johnny and him axing down
Yeah.
the door and like his face. That's like one of even if you've never seen the movie, everybody knows here's Johnny.
Yeah.
Everybody knows here's Johnny. The face in between the door.
yeah, it's just it's proliferated so much into like pop culture, and also again with some of the horror movies we're talking about with music being fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I love so much the opening theme
Of
of The Shining. Like it's so awesome.
That was,
Again,
that was a beautiful rendition.
The Thing has the what's his face, Enrico, why can't I remember his name, something I forget, but the guy who did the soundtrack of The Thing. I love The Thing symbol, just the dum 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 dum, like the kind of like heartbeat thing. Alien's got the more like weirder shit. There's the Jaws theme, obviously, and on and on.
By the way,
the Halloween theme.
I didn't think about this when I was first watching the movie. I think I first watched it with you guys.
What?
Which one?
Alien.
Oh, Alien.
Okay.
Yeah. But when I watched it the second time, it was like I remember the opening shot of like the ship in space.
Yes.
And it looks so good. I was
Mhm.
like, this movie's like 1979,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like incredible.
Mm.
It looks so much cooler than a lot of like CGI crap. Like it just
Yeah.
looked really cool. And I was like, and then I remember like we had a conversation about it the first time. Like all of it's practical. It's all like
Yeah, a lot
You
of
know,
it's just
different, like-
miniatures and stuff.
yeah miniatures and like I don't know. It's so cool.
I love the title sequence or like the title treatment for Alien 2, where it's just like it's not the letters popping up, but it's like, one of the lines of the A and like one of the lines of the L, one of the lines of the E, and they all sort of like slowly come up until it's Alien
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like I love that shit too. But
Yeah.
trying to think of some more horror movies here. Unless
we
you're
have-
satisfied, Malcolm.
We have Halloween right over
We do
there.
have Halloween. Halloween's fantastic. We
Legendary.
got Friday the 13th hiding
There
over
you
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just.
Oh, I'm
there's
gonna
so
throw
many
out. I
movies.
mean, I kind of consider it a horror movie in many senses. Like Coraline, I love Coraline,
Mm.
and it has like a lot of horror elements. Definitely, I don't know if you.
It's very
overall-
creepy.
It is very creepy.
Well, it's like 9 too.
Oh,
where it's
yeah.
like 9 was
9
like
is
billed
creepy,
as like a
yeah.
kids movie, but it's like it's kind of one of those things where it's like horror light, where it's
sure.
like it's like baby's first horror movie
Mm.
9, where it's like there's some shit in 9, like that weird snake thing. Where it's like the doll's head at like the
Yeah.
end of the snake body and it like
Oh,
fans
yeah,
out
that's
like the thing
creepy.
from Jurassic Park. That's still I'm like I don't
Mm.
fucking like that
Oh, but
shit.
last thing I want to, if you guys are cool with moving on, but I just want to
Yes.
say one more thing. Like, I don't know about you guys, but my journey through enjoying horror movies has been very like I used to hate them as a kid, and I
Mm.
used to like not want to ever even be around someone who's like if someone's in a room with me watching it, like I want to be in a different room. Like that's how much I hated them, and I don't know what kind of caused me to open up to them. I think it's just growing up and getting being more mature and being like, oh, let's give it a try. But I feel like Coraline was a big part of that because growing up I watched it a lot and I was like, I kind of would talk to people about it and they'd be like, that movie is horrifying. It's like so scary. And I'd be like, you know what? Like this is one of my favorite movies ever. And it was one of the first movies I watched in the theater as a kid. I was like 7 years old. I was like, maybe I'm a horror fan because I feel like I haven't given it a shot. I think I would watch in passing things like Saw and like really bloody gruesome stuff and that would scare me off as a kid.
Mm.
But then I discovered movies like The Shining and like Alien with you guys and like I'm like these movies can be really really good and they happen to be scary, but that's not like, to me, I don't watch them because they're scary. I watch them because they're great movies that happen to be scary,
Mm.
So like what have you guys like always been horror movie fans or did you kind of have to like warm up to them cuz like I hated them as a kid.
Personally, I mean, as a kid, I hated them. I remember,
Or not like a
when-
kid, but like
not
even
a
like
kid,
yeah.
but when The Conjuring came out, which I think was 2013 or something like that, all I could remember is seeing my dad watch it in the basement and me being horrified by the Annabelle doll and running upstairs.
Mm.
But I would always try to trick myself back down so I can just
Mm.
watch a little more of it because I was
Maybe I'll grab something or something.
yeah I was so intrigued by it and.
Mm.
And like slowly and
Something about
slowly,
it.
I started getting more into it. And like The Conjuring it's my favorite horror movie of all
Mm.
time. I love it. I don't know why. Like I know it has a lot of jump scares. I'm not completely against jump scares, but it also
No,
builds
no.
the story and the characters for me. And I just think
Mm.
I don't know. A lot of people describe it as a modern classic, which I can see why.
Mm.
But like it just took a little bit of growing into. And after like kind of getting into The Conjuring a bit, like I remember in the summers of like high school, like I'd just be sitting in my basement watching horror movies all day long. Like I'd
Mm.
watch all the Saws, like all like I don't know 8, 9 of them or something like that,
Mm.
and just go on and just I was just loving them, and now I love them
Mm.
even more.
Intrigue is the right word to me because I think that's the thing with horror. Because like I had a somewhat similar thing to you, Mark, where it's and I think most people do, where it's like you
Sure.
see scary shit as a kid and you're like, ooh, I don't like this.
But to
there's
correct
something-
myself though, it's like even like up until teenagehood, I was kind of like,
Sure.
I'm not about this shit. It's like too much for me.
I was kind of into it just because I think I am just kind of drawn to horror and specifically sci-fi because it's like I watched Jaws like kind of young and then I
Sure.
watched like Predator kind of, and Predator's not that scary, but then like I remember watching Alien like kind of young and like it's scaring the shit out of me, but just being like fascinated by it, like because I think I'm just like naturally kind of into that shit. But intrigue is the right word, where it's like there's definitely something about horror where it's like I know there's some people who like are grown ass people and they still don't like it, but
Yeah.
I think for the people who do,
Oh really?
shout out Merrick.
My mom as well.
Oh, you just name dropped.
But I think for the people who do
Expose me.
like horror, I think there is that thing to it where it's like you see things and you're like instinct is to like turn away because it does scare the shit
It's
out
like
of
a
you.
car crash,
But
though.
there's something that keeps
Yeah.
like
You hook.
calling you back to it, where there's like,
Yeah.
I think intrigue, like you said, Malcolm, is the perfect word, where it's like, yeah, this is scaring the shit out of me, but for some reason, like, I can't stay away.
Like, I
Like,
need
I
to
need,
see what happens.
like, I need more of this, even though I almost don't like it.
It's so different. It's like
Yeah.
I remember watching like even recently. It still happens to me recently. There was like a clip from a movie called Bone Tomahawk, and I think I don't know if I showed it to you guys. It's one of the most disturbing scenes I've ever seen, and it's more violent than anything. But like, it's just like the kind of, it's just like someone being tortured or whatever. But they do it so realistic in the movie, and it looks so crazy. I remember watching it and like looking away and being like, I can't watch that. It's too much. And then I like rewatched it like 4 times. I was like, I can't help but like something's fascinating about this. Like it's so well done. It's so disturbing, and like it gives me like, you know, it makes me feel sick a little bit. But I'm like, that's something about that's incredible though.
You
know?
saying that reminds me, we gotta watch Doctor Sleep.
Oh
the
yeah,
Shining sequel,
I never
because I
watched
think
it.
it's like really
Pretty good.
And you just bring up like a torture scene, and it reminded me
Oh,
of Doctor
okay.
Sleep. And I'm like, yeah, we gotta watch Doctor
Yeah, but
Sleep.
basically in the Bone Tomahawk thing, by the way, it's like someone, it's like these like, you know, white people going into this indigenous place, and like the indigenous people capture them and they're like scalping one of them, and it's so disgusting. And the actor does such an incredible job, and it feels like he's in pain. And like I remember watching it and being like, delete it. I literally deleted it from my YouTube history because I was like, that was so, I can't like that. I want that out of my memory.
I can't have this here.
And then like the day later, I was like, I gotta watch that again. Like something about that was like insane.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is when you brought that up, I could think when I was 16, I saw a trailer, or maybe it was just a clip from the movie Hostel, specifically when it's like, it's not a very popular movie, but I just remember the clip was, there was a doctor and he was taking the skin off of someone's face with an X-Acto knife by tracing around everything
Oh
and then
god.
going underneath and pulling it all off.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember that's so freaky, but it's so cool, and I need to watch that movie.
Hostel. I've never seen Hostel, but isn't Hostel in the like Saw camp of like torture porn kind of
Yeah,
horror movies
yeah.
where it's like all
Whoa.
gore?
Torture porn.
That's what they call it.
Yeah,
Whoa.
I think those.
Sleazebag.
I think those types of movies are what a lot of people think of when they think horror. Like they think like just like, you know, the Saw,
Gory,
blood,
violent.
Horror
Yes.
porn?
No, like just like gross, like bloody movies is what I'm
We're
saying.
talking about horror porn. Though.
Yeah.
Torture porn.
Torture porn. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so I think
Forgive
what
me.
I think that's those types of movies are what turned me away from horror for a long time, because I kind of thought for a long time as a child, like
Am I
even-
confused? Are you talking about torture porn right now? What are you
I'm talking about movies like Saw, movies
Okay.
like, what are you talking about?
Because that's what we're talking about right now.
No, I just brought up that it's in
Patrick,
that like
Torture porn.
genre.
Patrick, torture
Okay.
porn is a term used for those types of movies.
Of the ones you're describing?
Yes.
Saw and Hostel.
We're not literally
Not
talking
literal,
about it.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my goodness.
Not literal like torture porn. They're referred to as torture porn movies because it's like those horror movies, like their selling point is like, look at these people getting maimed and shit.
Yeah.
I think we should end on that point.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I
think it's time to end
Jesus
on
Christ.
Done. All right, Patrick. That's enough about torture porn. Let's get on to Matty's topic.
Hey.
Good.
Okay, so I have wanted to do this topic for basically since we started the show, but I didn't really know how to do it, and I'm glad I waited until video because I think that'll help, you know, slightly.
Torture porn.
Torture porn. It is a great passion of mine that I know you guys don't participate in, but I want to sort of bring you guys into it just a little bit. And this topic, I will admit, is basically contingent on the 3 of your participation.
Oh my god.
That's
Is this
fine.
ASMR? What are we doing
No,
here?
this is going to be a 2-part topic, so tune in next week for part 2, because we're going to start this topic next week or this week, and next week I will be going first in that episode to finish out this topic. And I've been thinking about how to do this for a long time, and I think I've got it. So, gentlemen, I'm going to talk to you guys today about comic books.
Okay.
Mm.
One of my favorite pastimes is just reading comic books. I read a lot of comic books. I've got so many sitting on my shelf that I have not read. So here's basically what this topic is going to be today and then next week. I have handpicked for the 3 of you 3 comics. So one for Patrick, one for Malcolm,
Oh, like
one for Mark.
recommendations?
And I have brought the trades here. So this is where the participation from you guys comes in. Your homework, basically, for next week's episode is going to be read not the whole trade, because I love you guys, but I know if I gave you the whole trade, you fucking idiots wouldn't.
What's the trade?
Like of the
storyline?
volume, where it's like 6 issues in one
Oh, okay.
comic. What I want you guys to do is just read the very first issue. So like 20 to 25 pages of a comic book.
Are we supposed to go out and buy it?
What if we want
I've
more?
got the trades here.
Oh,
This is part of the thing. So the homework, and I will remind you guys of this before next week, but the homework is I want you guys to read your issue, and then all I want you to do is just like a quick synopsis. So just a couple notes on what
It's about.
the issue is about. And I want you to review the issue. So just like out of 10, how much you enjoyed it, all that stuff, you know, like art, writing, all that shit.
Yeah.
And I want to know if you guys think I did a good job selecting
oh, dude,
the
I
books
love this.
for you.
So this
you
is like
personalized it.
for me, for Mark.
Yes, I went.
What you think we
I
would
went
enjoy.
through
Ah,
and
I
tried
love
to
that.
select what I
Oh.
think you guys. Because at first I was gonna do it in a way where I was gonna present you guys with like options and let you pick. But then I was like, well, you know what? I think part of the fun will be me trying to pick,
Oh,
yeah.
and then you guys next week like letting me know
Yeah.
how good I did or if I fucked it up or anything.
I like that a lot.
Okay, cool.
Um,
See you guys next
Oh,
week.
and then part of the topic will be like for next week will be
Yeah.
like, do you want to continue reading the comic? And again, I
Okay.
know you guys aren't comic readers, so if you're all like, no, fucking whatever, then I don't care. But it's just like, would you be interested enough to like keep
I'm
going?
sorry, I
kind
just
of
got,
thing?
I just randomly like
Mark's dying.
had to cough. I would love to. I mean, I'm sure I'm gonna like it. I feel like you have a pretty good way of like, because even you've recommended stuff to me before that I've liked. Even like I think you mentioned like I think like Paper Girls or whatever.
Yes.
But my only issue with like comic books in general is like the ones that are like 5 million issues. Like I was at some point I was gonna get into the Walking Dead graphic novel, but I just like I found out there was like 1 million volumes, and I was like, don't want to spend all that money, don't want to spend all that time. So as long as it's like I love reading graphic novels, as long as it's not like insanely long.
Here's the thing. I took that into account. Of the
Lovely.
3 comics I've selected here, yours is the only one that's done.
Love it.
Like it's
Wow.
over, and it's only 5 trades.
Sweet.
BS,
So yours is
bro.
done. Your 2 are both
Shake my goddamn hand.
ongoing. And not only are they ongoing, there's like spin-offs and stuff that aren't like important, but
Okay.
it's just, and we'll get to that.
Mine
'cause I have
better
a
be a
bunch of,
DC comic.
Honestly, I'm particularly excited about this.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like I've been wanting to get into comics
Same.
for so long. Like I even have them laying on the floor in
You
my
have
room.
you have
I'm
no
waiting-
excuse.
I have no excuse. I'm waiting. They're on the floor in my room. I just haven't opened them yet, and they're fucking cool. I have like
Hey-
Deathlock. I have Spider-Man.
Dude,
I have
are we-
Daredevil.
His dad has hundreds and
Yeah.
hundreds of comics.
Are we considering like 'cause I'm thinking like traditional comic books, but are we talking about like graphic novels as well?
yeah, anything counts really.
Sweet.
So
It's
wait,
just-
what are we doing today?
I'm going to present to each of you your
Okay.
comics.
Okay. I like this. Okay.
So we're
Actually,
going to start.
on a different note. Not
No.
different note, not. I was gonna say I actually have read a graphic novel. Now I think about it, I read the entire Bone series.
Oh.
And I love that.
That's what I
love
want to
that shit.
revisit because I remember reading the first couple as a kid and being like, "Oh, this is cool," but like I want to kind of revisit it as like a bigger kid.
Wasn't there a really good one too about like Nazis, but it's like rats or mouse.
Yeah,
It's called Mouse.
Mouse
Like
is fantastic.
MAUS or whatever. MAUS. Yeah.
Those are cool.
MAUS.
Those are
Yeah,
really
it's
cool.
really it's about the Holocaust. But yeah, it's like
Done
Anyways.
as like rats.
Um,
or mouse,
Continue.
mice.
Mr. Malcolm, we're going to start with you. Originally, I had suggested for you something light and funny, and I had gone with Sex Criminals, which is also a completed comic. However, the more I was thinking
That
about
is crazy.
I was like-
on the same episode we talk about sexual offenders.
it, that's
Wow.
I think what I'm going to call that
Sex
topic is just Sex
criminals.
Criminals.
Sex criminals.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's a little wink and a nod. But the thing is, I know I've mentioned that comic to you guys before, and I kind of wanted to go with things that you guys like haven't heard of. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, well, I know Malcolm could do the light and funny thing. And then I went to a different place. Speaking of your topic, horror.
Wow.
Horror.
Here we go.
Excited.
Here it is. Here it is. First
He
reveal.
pulls out a gun and pops
First
him.
reveal. Oh my god. His blood splattered
plugs
all over
him.
the Goodfellas
So for
poster.
Mr. Malcolm here,
Plugs it.
and let me pull up this thing because I'm so nifty.
excited.
It's currently touching my leg.
Is this on a TV? Yes, it is,
It
and it's really
is.
small. This is a piece of artwork, which you will one day see, from a little book we like to call Something is Killing the Children. Now, I have marked with the blue
Oh,
sticky
This
note.
looks so dope.
So the
Scare the hell
blue
out of me.
sticky note is what you have to read up to. So that's
If
the
it-
first
Am I allowed to read
issue.
past? Can I read past?
This
Does
is
it
the
feel
thing.
good?
If you guys want to go past, and this can be part of the conversation next week, please, I encourage you. Now, I would say don't flip through it too much now with all of them I give you because I want to like
What
spoil
if
things.
you open it and it just starts like the book starts screaming?
So I did. So I do
And they
have some
closed it
things
quick.
written down here just to like fill you guys in a bit. So Something is Killing the Children is written by James Tynion. I forget how to say his last name. The fourth, and it is drawn by Werther. I didn't write down his last name. It says it on
The
the
art
side
looks
of the
super
thing.
cool on the front.
Werther.
Show it to the camera.
I can't tell you how excited I am right now.
Werther Deladera. I
Can't put it
probably
into
butchered
words.
that. I apologize.
Can't.
So it is an ongoing comic, so it's not done yet. It's currently at 6 volumes, so 6 of those, or 32 issues total. And there's one spin-off series called The House of Slaughter, which is going, but it's not like I haven't even started it yet. It's not
That's
integral
such a
to that.
scary. Something is killing the children.
Great
That is
title.
such a
It's a good
scary
Great
title.
title. It's perfect. Every once in a while you
Oh
find a
my
perfect title,
God.
and I think that's one of them. So just a brief synopsis, and this is actually the only comic that's not an Image series. This is Boom Studios. So the synopsis: when the children of Archer's Peak begin to go missing, everything seems hopeless. Most children never return, but the ones that do have terrible stories, impossible stories of terrifying creatures that live in the shadows. Their only hope of finding and eliminating the threat is the arrival of a mysterious stranger, one who believes the children and claims to see what they can see. Her name is Erica Slaughter. She kills monsters. That is all she does, and she bears the cost because it must be done.
Cool.
Sounds cool.
So, just to build on the synopsis, the idea of the comic is in this world, children can see these monsters that feed on children, and adults can't. So, the idea of the book is that it's happening in this town of Archer's Peak. I think it's in like Wisconsin. I think it's a fictional town too. So it's kind of happening in like this small rural town America where like children are going missing kind of thing. And the first issue kind of just follows this one boy who ends up meeting Erica when she kind of pulls up to the town, and like slowly the two of them like kind of getting to know each other. This, by the way, is Erica.
Yeah. You know what I like about the concept of it too is like it's very much a play on, parents not believing their kids'
Yes.
fears and like you know what I'm
Yes.
I
saying?
didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Where it's like the
Yeah.
parents don't believe them, but then she shows up and she's like,
I got you
I
guys.
know this.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
know you're telling the truth kind of thing.
Okay.
So that, Mr. Malcolm,
is his pick.
is your
Sweet.
comic. Now, the other thing I will say with this is it depends how good at retaining information you guys are. Because like, I'm not saying you have to like go home tonight and read this. You could literally read it the day we record next week if you want it like really fresh in your
Oh,
head.
he will.
I also already have a synopsis written for all of your first issues, so that like I can kind of help fill in some stuff. But anyways, Something is Killing the Children for Malcolm.
Who's next?
Next is Mr. Patrick Faheen.
Let's go.
Best for last. Best for last, baby.
Okay, whatever.
Now let me see if I can pull up this next preview.
You're jealous? I know you are.
This is gonna pull up. Yes, it is. Perfect. There's your
I don't even want
artwork.
to turn around. I don't know. I just want to see the comic.
You probably shouldn't.
So
What if this is a middle finger flipping you off?
So for Mr. Patrick, I wanted to go with something that I figured would be up your alley, and I thought Patrick, like myself, is a superhero fan. Now,
Yes.
honestly, I had considered giving you Invincible.
I was thinking to myself, oh my god, he's gonna give me Invincible.
Here's the thing, though. The problem is we've watched the first season
Yeah.
of the show. Everybody should watch the show and read the book.
Yeah.
So you already kind of know like what happens in the early days of Invincible.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the Invincible comic starts with a storyline they totally cut out from the show, where of like him first becoming invincible, and like the first kind of arc is there's like I think it's a teacher at his high school is like
He's into-
implanting kids with bombs
Oh damn!
and like turning them into like unwilling suicide bombers,
Oh
and that
my
whole plot was like
goodness.
totally like they never even bothered that with that in the show. They just got kind of like right
Into it.
to it with like
Yeah.
the Guardians and all that. So I kind of figured like, like why do that? And then it occurred to me about another superhero comic that I've been reading as of late that I am very interested in and a big fan of. Patrick, I present to you, and you can look at the screen now. Radiant Black.
Tell me what this is about.
And you can look at the art
The
behind
cover
you
is
now,
very
too, if
cool.
you want to
Oh,
see.
yeah, I
That
did,
is
I did,
Radiant
yeah,
Black.
yeah.
Radiant Black is written by Kyle Higgins and drawn by Marcelo Costa. It is currently ongoing at 4 volumes, so 4 of these, and 27 issues if you were doing issue by issue. It is part of what is known as the massive verse. So Kyle Higgins at Image kind of has his own universe of comics where it's this comic Radiant Black and like 2 or 3 other comics that all exist in the same universe.
Yeah.
As of yet, they haven't really like crossed over all that much, like in the later, especially in this first volume, because this was the first of anything in that world. Later in some of the Radiant Black stuff, they mention like, oh, did you hear about that guy and like whatever the fuck, but it's not the most integral. Anyways, the synopsis, and this is pulled, all the synopses I pulled right off the website, so this is off of Image. For fans of Invincible and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comes a brand new ongoing series that reinvents superheroes for a new generation. Nathan Burnett has just turned 30 and things aren't great. He's working and failing at 2 jobs. His credit card debt is piling up and his only move is moving back home with his parents. But when Nathan discovers and unlocks the ethereal cosmic radiant, he's given the power to radically change his fortunes. There's just one problem. The powers don't belong to him, and the cosmic beings who created them want them back by any means necessary.
That sounds
Cool.
So Radiant Black is a lot of fun. It's really interesting. Nathan Burnett, the protagonist, is an interesting case because he's not like a heroic person. He's kind of just this, like, I think he's a writer or something, and he's like kind of just this down on his luck, like he's just like a normal guy who's kind of going through shit. And one night when he moves back home, him and his friend in this image back there is Marshall. They're like, I mean, I won't spoil it, but long story short, he comes into power or comes into contact with this radiant thing, thus donning him this suit, whatever. And the series is cool because it gets very like sci-fi and cosmic, and it kind of gets into like a lot of stuff the further you go down. It also, what I like about all your first issues is they all end on some sort of cliffhanger, which, I mean, when it's the first issue, that's kind of the point. And they kind of like set interesting seeds for where their stories is going to go. And Radiant Black, I just think, is like, it's not the greatest superhero thing I've ever read. Like, that would still be Invincible to me, but it's really good, and it's done a lot of like interesting stuff that next week, if you read it and like I'm not going to continue, then I'll spoil some of that stuff. But it's doing very like, I'll put this in a way that you guys won't understand, but maybe some of the audience will. This comic kind of pulls a Metal Gear Solid 2 at some point, which I know
you're right. I don't understand.
which I know means nothing to you, but to people who know that game will kind of get that.
Yeah.
And it also pulls, I mean, this won't be a spoiler, but they did something with the comic recently that I don't actually know how it turned out yet, if it's even been figured out. But back in the 80s, when they killed Jason Todd, the second Robin, that was a phone-in thing where it was like at the end of some Batman comic, it was like, hey, does Jason Todd live or die? Like, phone in and vote. And however the votes go is how we're going to go. And they voted to kill him off, which is where you get death in the storyline. Which, when you think about it, like, the butterfly effect of that's like they killed him. That, like, you know, gives you Tim Drake as the next Robin. Years later, it gives you Red Hood as a character when they bring Jason back. Like, it leads to a lot of cool shit. And they did a similar thing with Radiant Black, where the writer guy, Kyle Higgins, like, put out a Twitter thing being like, hey, we're making a decision about this book that's going to be fan voted. Vote on this, and whatever vote gets it is how the story is going to go, kind of thing. What specifically they voted on, I won't obviously give away, but like, so they just, it's doing cool shit like that. And I figured, again, superheroes, I thought it'll be up Patrick's alley.
Okay.
So anyways, Radiant Black. We now turn to our last
Ooh, I'm
comic,
excited.
Mr. Mark. Now, as I mentioned for you, I picked something that was completed because I figured if you did want to go through with it,
Yes.
it would be something that, you know, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
I like that, yeah. I like
And
that.
when I was also thinking about yours, I was trying to think about, you know, Mark's interest in things. And my mind immediately went to science fiction and something a little deep,
Okay.
pun intended, a little, you know, thoughtful and provoking. And also something with, of all 3 of the books, maybe my favorite art of the 3 books, but for sure the most, like, not out there, but just
Vibrant.
When you see the art, eventually you'll know what I'm talking about. And that is,
I'm not going to look at the
pull
screen.
up
I'm not going to look at the screen.
my image again. Everybody give me 2 seconds. Is it up? There it is. There's an example of the art in
I'm
terms
not,
of the
I'm not
weirdness.
looking.
You can see in your periphery.
No, I
Don't
cannot.
lie.
Like, I can't see it. I just see green.
I present to you, Mr. Mark, Low.
Cool. Oh, that's so
One
cool.
syllable.
And you can look at the screen.
Low.
Ooh, I like that.
Low is written by Rick Remender, a writer, by the way, like James Tynion and Kyle Higgins. I haven't read like a ton of his other stuff, although he's done an Ultraman series for Marvel, which is fucking dope. But Rick Remender, the Low writer, I am a big fan of. He's awesome. And drawn by Greg Tocchini. I don't fucking know. I'm
Wow,
really
that
bad at some
sounded
of these
really
names.
butchered.
Yeah. Low is completed at 5 volumes or 26 issues total. There's no like additional series or any stuff. It's
That's
just
pretty short.
a one and done thing. Yeah, it wasn't like a super long one.
I
But
like that though.
it
I like
is-
I
that.
know you. That's what I'm
fantastic.
saying. Yeah.
The synopsis: in the far distant future, the sun's premature expansion has irradiated Earth, sending humanity to the lowest depths of the seas, hidden within radiation-shielded cities, while probes scour the universe for inhabitable worlds to relocate to. After tens of thousands of years, a single probe returns, crashing on Earth's surface, a now alien place no human has seen for many millennia. So
That sounds cool.
in essence,
That's awesome.
the premise of the book is that at some point in Earth's history, the sun starts expanding like way earlier than anybody thought it was going to, and it makes Earth basically uninhabitable. So in a almost BioShock-like thing,
Yep.
people build these like
Underwater.
cities underwater, like multiple cities underwater, and that's where just humanity's sort of forced to live. But before they go down, they shoot these probes into space that if they ever find a planet that people can live on, are supposed to come back to Earth and like say like, hey, we found this planet, like go there and
Yeah.
live to sort of like save the human race. And so the setup of the book is it's this woman right here, Stell. She's sort of, the book, again, in a thought-provoking way, is very like hope and optimism is kind of a theme of the book. And Stell specifically is like a very optimistic and hopeful person. And so she's kind of one of the people in the city they're living in who's kind of like, a lot of people have sort of given up on the idea that the probes are ever going to return, whereas she's one of the few people who's like, no, there's a probe, like it's coming someday, like we're going to be saved kind of thing. Especially because at this point, being thousands and thousands of years afterwards, like a lot of the cities are starting to kind of like
Fall apart.
like they're falling apart and like it's over basically. Like humanity is on like its last legs here. Like they need a Hail Mary, and they kind of get it in the form of the probe coming back. Now the one thing I will mention, which is not really a spoiler, but I don't actually know if the probe returning to Earth is actually in the first issue.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
It happens at some point, obviously. I mean, it's in the synopsis, but I don't actually know if it's where the story like starts.
Sure.
But it gets
But he
there.
has
the
the
whole
whole volume.
Can I ask you a question? Have you read any of these?
Oh, I've read start to finish. Like I've completed that.
Oh.
Radiant Black, well, I usually wait for the trades. I don't do it by issue. So even though I said there's like what 27, yeah, there's 27 issues of Radiant Black. I've only read up to the third trade, which is probably like 20, 21, 22. So I'm a little behind on Radiant Black, and then the 6th volume of Something Is Killing the Children just came out a couple weeks ago, and I have it. I just haven't read it yet. So I'm caught up on these two, and I've finished.
You know, I like the art style. Reminds me of one of the graphic novels I have read, which is Fables. I think it's yeah.
Yeah.
It has a very similar art style. It's kind of like drawn,
Yes, the art
love
in
it.
this is a lot more like
sketchy.
painterly almost, and a little more like sketchy. Like it's not as clean as like
Kinda
Radiant Black.
Borderlands.
Can I open?
Yeah.
Can I open it
Remind
and
me
take a
of
look at what it is?
Please, yes, yeah. If you guys want to flip through a bit, like don't go too nuts,
Oh,
kind of thing, because I don't want
That's
things to
dope.
be totally
Sorry.
ruined. But so
You
this,
closed mine, but you didn't close theirs.
well, because you're in arm's reach. So the sticky notes on all your issues are the end of the first issues. Now again, this is the thing, and I'll tell you guys this off air just as reminders. But all I want from you guys is just like your synopsis of the issue can just be like a couple jot notes. You reviewing the issue of like what you thought of it, what did you like, what didn't you like, how good do you think I did on picking a series, and then the question of like, would you want to continue reading? And I guess maybe for some of you, did you continue reading past the first issue kind of thing?
yeah.
And yeah, so this is why it's like a two-parter, so that next week we can kind of reconvene again and do this. And I also wanted to do this because, like I said, I am such a comic book fiend, and I know you guys like aren't necessarily, and so this I don't want to like force it on you guys.
I feel like you're forcing it a little.
I feel a little bit
a
uncomfortable.
little bit forced, but I just figured it would be like this would be a fun way to do it. And what I like about this topic is it's something that like down the line, if I want to go back to the well again, I could do this again of like, hey guys, I've picked 3 new comics for you, that I think you would each individually be into, that I've like kind of tried to suss out sort of thing.
This is fucking awesome.
So yes, so
Yeah,
I
this is
hope
very
I've been like bouncing off the walls for like a week now thinking about like, I mean, just the video stuff obviously, but just doing this
Yeah.
topic specifically because I wanted to do it and get to it and share it with you guys so bad. And now
Thank you, Matty.
it's not
you.
it's not like a sense of, you're welcome. It's not like a sense of relief because now I'm just going to be sitting for like a week like foaming at the mouth to just
Mhm.
like hear what you guys have to say
Yeah.
next week. And like I said, and this is me putting pressure on you. Next week's version of this topic is going to be as good as you make it. So if you don't read your issues, fuck you, and it's a shit topic. But like
Fair
I said,
enough.
I didn't want to go with the whole trade. Like I only wanted to do the first issue just to not ask for
I
too
like
much of
having
your
the
time.
option of
But obviously,
more.
yes, the option is there if you want to kind of go through. If you are interested in it, even if you only do like another, you could do like 2 or 3 issues and then be like, actually, this isn't like this is kind
What would you
of
do?
lame.
What do you do if we come back next week and Malcolm's is like ripped up and like burned?
Oh my god,
Why would that
that
happen?
would
torn.
suck. I mean, please take care of these. These are my comments.
Oh, this is lovely.
But yeah, and that is the thing. Like I said earlier, like I was debating maybe giving Malcolm Sex Criminals, and in my head of like maybe doing this again someday. Like I already kind of have
Number 2s?
number 2s sort of in mind for you guys that I might have gone with but didn't, kind of thing.
So I'm really loving the concept of Mark's book. I keep thinking
Yeah,
about
right?
how
It's
cool
sick.
that is.
I think
Well-
all of these are cool, to be honest
I
with
do
you.
too.
Like
Yeah.
there was another sci-fi one that like if we did do this again, I would probably give you, Malcolm, the sci-fi one, and then Patrick something a little different, and then maybe give Mark something a little lighter. Like, 'cause I have one in mind that's like a little, like it's more like funny and lighter and kind of tongue in cheek and whatever.
Yeah.
And I wanted to stay away from like Marvel and DC stuff because I
Yeah.
figured like there's a million Marvel and DC comics that I would like happily give you guys, but I didn't want to.
This is more interesting.
I didn't want to
Yeah,
give you
this
guys
definitely.
like Dark Knight Returns and like a Spider-Man story and be like, hey, here's these characters and worlds you already know. Like, I wanted to give you something
Fresh.
new
Fresh
and
and
fresh
new.
and something that you did know. But anyways, I will ramble on no longer. So I hope you guys like this. And for you, the audience, I don't know which camera to talk to, so I'm going to talk to both. If you want to
There's
play
3.
along, this is well.
Oh, you only have 2. That's right.
I only everybody's
My bad.
only really got 2. If you want to play along at home, then you should do that. Like go. You can go. There's a really good website which I don't know if I should be promoting it. I recommend please buy your comic books, but if money's a thing, I get it. Read Comics Online, where you can just straight up read comic books online, like I do it sometimes.
You just expose yourself, criminal.
Well, I do it because
Jail.
like I'm reading Ultimate Spider-Man right now, but that's from like the early 2000s, and to actually get that entire like 130 issue run would cost me I will probably do it one day, but it would cost me easily like $200 or something.
Even murderers
to
justify
get all
their
of it.
crimes, but that's okay.
Exactly. So if you want to play at home, if any of these 3 comics sounded interesting to you and you want to read them on your own,
Join
and
the
then
Radiant
join-
Black Wave.
you could check
Low,
out Radiant
baby.
Black. You could check out Low. You could check out Something is Killing
Kill
Children.
the children.
See what's up.
This
See
is-
what's
this is
interesting.
the wave
gotta,
you wanna ride.
gotta kill the children.
Okay.
Lo has
This
the
was-
coolest art.
So that was my topic. Anyways,
Fun.
once again,
Love it.
this has been your episode of Wildly
First
Adequate.
Thank you.
video
The
episode.
First
video
and
episode.
last.
Like I said at the top, I will just quickly reiterate again. We're on video now. There will be some growing pains, so bear with us. But thank you for your patience. We are now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The day this episode goes live, there is already another video live. That's just like a quick little 2-minute video that we recorded, sort of just going over the announcements and changes to the show, the video, the podcast services updates and all that. So if you want just a quick little condensed version, check that out. Please like, share, and subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Rate the show.
There you
preferably
go.
with a high rating, because the more kind of reviews and ratings we get, especially higher ones, it algorithm likes that and picks us up a little more. So it'll make our lives a lot better and a lot easier, and your life too by extension. You fucking shitbag.
I was gonna say you have to add like rate for like
Yes.
thing, but you're already on it.
I'm
You're on
already
the ball.
on it. I'm on the ball. But anyways, this has been the show. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen?
I just can't wait to read this thing. It looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, I'm getting
and the
into this
art is
thing
awesome.
right tomorrow morning.
Very good.
With regards to other closing thoughts, we've got, each one of us is individually thinking about, now that we have video, the possibilities of different stuff we could talk about, different stuff we could do. So a lot coming in the pipeline, and I'm excited to
We
sort
can
of
take
make my
suggestions.
thoughts. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good idea. If you guys want to interact, make suggestions, comment on the video, we will read it. And
That's
we'll-
true. Sometimes I feel like it's
Yeah.
like if we're blanking a little bit, it's nice to have a suggestion.
Yeah, it's nice to keep things fresh. But anyways, the point I was trying to make is making our thoughts into reality is going to be exciting over the next
Yeah, I was. You know what I was
period of
thinking
time.
before I got here? I was like, I kind of wish we could just like skip all the ones that we banked and just like go. I want to upload this now. I want to like see it now.
Oh
you know?
my god, I thought about it today where it was like, oh, we're gonna be making clips for episode
Yeah.
14, then
Audio,
episode
yeah.
15, and then it's gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah.
finally we're working with, and even like the footage I got for some TikToks
Mm-mm.
that I'm gonna be making is like I'm not even gonna be working with that footage until like 2
Yeah.
weeks from now.
It's
Kind
gonna
of
feel a little weird. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, all right. Good night, guys, and I
Thank
don't know.
you.
If
See
we're good.
ya.
Cool. Yeah. Good night.
Goodbye.
Bye.